My name is Big Time, and we're live. And we're just waiting for Wicked to join us. Let me just reach out to her, see what's going on. We do this YouTube communication, just going back and forth. 1 second. Tell them the title. We're going to take a time machine today. Going to be checking out a video from Miami. I figure we should talk about the riots that are going to happen in 2024 because it's an election year. You're going to notice that probably black racism and probably now transgender transphobia is going to increase magically, suddenly. So be on the lookout for all that. So I figured this is from Ock Nation News. He played this last night. I really wanted to get Wicked's perspective on this. And then I also have a clip from a movie I wanted to play from 1991. And I wanted to show, I guess you could say race relations from 1991. So anyway, what I'll do is we'll jump into 1980, Miami. There were riots, and you'll never guess why.
A night of mayhem in Miami has been followed by a day of more tension and more trouble. There were new reports of arson, looting, and another death. The full story from Ed Rabel.
A dusk to dawn curfew has been imposed on northwest Miami following a day and night of killing, looting, and burning that left at least 10 persons dead and 120 injured. The violence broke out after a white male jury in Tampa found 4 white former Dade County policemen innocent in the death of black Miami businessman Arthur McDuffie.
Not guilty. So say we all. David H. Fisher, foreman.
Alex Marrero, Michael Watts, Ira Diggs, and Herbert Evans had been charged with beating McDuffie to death and making his death look like an accident. McDuffie's mother was present for the verdict.
I guess this was the Miami Rodney King.
In Miami, a crowd demonstrating against the verdict gathered in front of the Dade County Justice Building.
Somehow, in this town, black people must be able to deal with this in an orderly fashion.
The reaction became violent. A police spokesman said one of those who died was a young black man shot dead by county policemen after a security guard was threatened. The spokesman said it was not exactly clear how the other victims died. They included 3 white males, 1 Oriental man, 4 black men, and a police officer who suffered an apparent heart attack during the rioting. The fires and overturned cars created scenes reminiscent of a war zone.
So this has happened before, right? Now I don't know what happened with the police and the black business owner, the motorcyclist. All white jury found the cops not guilty. And the blacks tear shit up. That sound familiar?
I think this is a little bit more emotional than the one in New Jersey.
The one in New Jersey.
This hits close to the heart, this killing, this McDuffie killing, and that innocent verdict up there in Tampa. It don't set well with these people. It don't set well with me.
Many of the victims were taken to Jackson Memorial Hospital. Police said one victim was shot, had his ear cut off, tongue severed, and a red rose stuffed into his mouth.
We're loaded to capacity. We can't handle anymore.
What type of injuries are you seeing here?
This racist doctor. Why is this racist doctor helping these poor black people? What are you doing, you racist doctor? This is a white supremacist country. Just kick out the blacks. What? I thought that's what happened, right? They didn't admit anybody.
Right? We've seen everything. We've seen all sorts of major trauma, from gunshot wounds, stab wounds, people beaten up, every parts of the body, from the head, abdomen, chest, you name it, it's happened.
National Guardsmen and other law enforcement agents swept into the riot-scarred area early this morning to help local police try to restore order. Firemen were prevented from fighting fires because of snipers. An emergency meeting of Miami's Community Relations Board tried to pinpoint
snipers. Did you hear that?
Swept into the riot-scarred area early this morning to help local police try to restore order. Firemen were prevented from fighting fires because of snipers.
Don't gloss over that. Firemen couldn't put out fires because of snipers.
An emergency meeting of Miami's Community Relations Board tried to pinpoint exactly how the violence began.
I think something dramatic needs to happen in this community. In this meeting, I think some of us from this meeting need to be able to go back to the community and say, these are the compromises, if you want to call them compromises.
Meanwhile, as the looting and burning continued late today, the U.S. Justice Department said it would seek civil rights indictments against the 4 ex-policemen whose acquittal triggered the violence. Officials said they hoped their action would diffuse the unrest, but no one was willing to predict when the rioting will end. Ed Rabel,
Scene of
CBS
racial violence after an all-white jury in Tampa acquitted 4 ex-policemen in the death of a black businessman. Authorities today put the death toll officially at 15.
4 ex-policemen. So does that mean they were fired?
Police regained control of the streets today, but among the culprits they sought were other police. Eric Ingberg reports.
Some fires were still burning this morning in the northwest Miami neighborhood where the violence was centered. But there were only scattered reports of sniping and looting, and police say a stiff curfew, coupled with the emotional and physical exhaustion this city has endured for 3 days, were restoring order.
Last night, things were pretty quiet, so we feel we've turned the corner and that we're well on our way to stabilizing the area and bringing it back to normal.
Barricades were removed from streets surrounding the riot zone and traffic allowed to move again. The curfew has been liberalized so that citizens will be allowed on the streets until 10 tonight, but schools will remain closed at least until Thursday. In downtown Miami, merchants who had shuttered their stores out of fear the violence would spread reopened for business. Residents of one neighborhood said that during the peak of the rioting Sunday night, they watched in amazement as a group of city policemen vandalized more than a dozen automobiles in a parking lot, smashing windows with billy clubs and rifles, then spray painting the cars. Officials say their initial investigation tends to confirm the charges and that they will try to identify and punish the officers involved.
I'm not sure how I feel about this. I mean, if you work for a city and you're watching people destroy the city. So if I watch somebody, were these just random cars? So did the cops do the same thing the blacks were doing? And if that's the case, yeah, fuck them. Then they should be, fuck them. They should be held accountable for that. But that's different. If I own a store, someone tries to steal stuff out of my store, and I'm able to get the upper hand on those people or person and incapacitate them by whatever means, I'm destroying your fucking car. I'm completely justified. If you try to take my shit, I'm going to destroy your shit. That doesn't bother me. Again, if the cops just chose random cars and just did that too, well, then you're no better than the people that are fucking everything up. You're the same. And like I said, in my example is different, because if you come to my store, try to take my shit, and I stop you from doing it, then that's just what had to happen. I don't know if you watched the video of the California, the guy in I guess it's a 7-Eleven, beating the robber with like a cane. Looked like a cane. I was totally cool with that. Honestly, I think that's what shoppers should do. I think more shoppers should get to beat the crap out of people who steal from them and then just let them go. I understand blacks will retaliate because that's just what they think they're allowed to do. And that's just what they do anyway. But I'm cool with like that was a sense of immediate justice. You know, the concept of arresting somebody, letting them go, this bail reform, they come back in 2, 3 years with a court date. There's no immediate punishment. And there has to be a form of immediate punishment. Just like that guy whooping that dude's ass for stealing all those cigarettes and putting them in a trash can. And I was totally cool with that. I'm fine with that over court. What the fuck is court going to do? But that's the whole illusion of the police. Oh, you need us to protect you. Really? Do we really? The Koreans didn't.
Cleanup crews venturing into the area for the first time found entire blocks destroyed. Damage estimates begin at $100 million. Hundreds of persons were injured, nearly 1,000 arrested. Eric Engberg, CBS News, Miami.
When the magnitude of Miami's rioting became apparent, President Carter quickly sent Attorney General Civiletti to Florida to try to resolve the civil rights problems underlying the violence. Fred Graham reports.
And again, it's painted as civil rights. So they're rioting. Because of civil rights. I don't understand that. Is any other group of people allowed to do that? Is any other group of people allowed to just destroy everything and it's just called, and it's just accepted? It's just tolerated. They're allowed to set shit on fire and people are getting fucked up, and it requires men with military fatigues and long guns to stop it. And they don't call it violence and looting and robbing. They call it civil rights. This is the fucking 80s. What has changed?
After a day of meetings in riot-torn Miami, Civiletti concluded that a basic reason for the city's racial turmoil is a widespread feeling among blacks that they are not treated fairly by the police or the courts.
There is a deep and frustrating belief and feeling of a double standard of justice and unequal justice applying to a substantial segment of this community.
He announced a beefed-up force of FBI agents, federal attorneys, and U.S. Marshals to look into past and future charges of police brutality against blacks. Civiletti also instituted a unique Justice Department watchdog system over police brutality cases handled by the Office of State's Attorney Janet Reno.
That's that you're playing games, okay?
Blacks have complained repeatedly that her office has not cracked down on police brutality, culminated in the acquittal of 4 policemen last weekend that touched off the rioting. Black leaders have also called for Ms. Reno's resignation, and she has refused, prompting suggestions that the system of justice in general, and specifically Ms. Reno, are becoming the scapegoat for the rioting here.
Black leaders are calling for my resignation. I think that's being done from a sense of frustration. If you characterize that as my being made a scapegoat, then yes, if people can go out and riot and pillage and loot and kill to force an elected official from office, that destroys our entire elective system.
Civiletti said the Justice Department...
Yeah, but that doesn't happen anymore, does it? Because BLM was allowed to riot in 2020. But when the truckers blocked everything, and actually, and according to AOC and Justin Trudeau, rioting is the language of the unheard, or the voices of the unheard. But when the truckers peacefully protest and blocked traffic, and what all those white people in Canada got together and opened a shelter where they were giving people 3 meals a day. They had their bank accounts frozen. They're being put in prison. So I don't understand. A certain group of people is just allowed to destroy anything all the time. And it's always portrayed as the uprising, fighting the system, fighting your oppressor. And I don't get it. Wouldn't the conclusion just be then that we just segregate? Why would you why would you want to be around your oppressor? Why would you want to be around police? Why would you want to? Like, this is what I don't understand. The system, you oppress us, the police beat us. Well, then why did you fight so hard to integrate during the Civil Rights Act? I don't like where's the black state? Where's the all black city? So we can't oppress you, right?
Department's investigation will begin with a grand jury that will be convened here tomorrow. Fred Graham, CBS News, Miami.
Of the country. The death toll in Miami now stands at 16, but apparently there were no deaths overnight as a curfew took hold at 8 p.m. and as Florida Governor Bob Graham again went on television with another broadcast appeal. Steve Croft picks up the story at that point.
Hey, Wicked.
Hey, good morning.
Morning, how you doing?
Oh, good. Yeah, I swear I worked so much. I didn't even know how many days I worked, how many hours until I got my check, and I was like, "Whoa, hello." So tired but rich. No.
Okay, I'm glad you're making the money. I know you're trying to get the fuck out of there.
That's why I'm doing it. I got a goal.
Yeah. Hey, so again, I'm always open to any input you have, but I figured I saw this on Ock Nation News last night. I wanted to like a time machine. These were riots in Miami during 1980. You had another similar case of like a black motorist. She was shot by police. A white jury found the white police officers not guilty, and then they rioted. And then they were telling Janet Reno to retire. Have you seen any of that yet?
No, I haven't.
Do you want me to go back? I'm cool. It's only like 7 minutes.
No, you can go forward. I'll catch up.
All right.
We desperately need a night of brotherhood before we can begin to build a future of peace in Miami.
Florida Governor Bob Graham went on statewide television last night pleading for reason and tranquility. Police and National Guardsmen once again imposed a curfew over much of northwest Miami.
As of 8 o'clock, we have a curfew.
At dusk, there were signs on the street that the violence that transformed much of Liberty City into rubble and left 16 people dead might be over.
All the white people, please, is burnt down. So we don't need them National Guard. You see what I'm saying? So what they should do is just pull them crackers on out. We don't need no curfew. Ain't nothing else around here for us to burn now.
But there were things left to burn, and for the third straight night.
What do you think about that?
Oh, now that we burned everything down, there's nothing left to burn. No lawlessness. No. That's crazy.
This is the 80s.
Yeah.
This is 1980s in Miami.
Wow, I never heard of this.
Here, I'll do this. Let's play the first like 30 seconds.
Okay.
A night of mayhem in Miami has been followed by a day of more tension and more trouble. There were new reports of arson, looting, and another death. The full story from Ed Rabel.
A dusk to dawn curfew has been imposed on northwest Miami following a day and night of killing, looting, and burning that left at least 10 persons dead and 120 injured. The violence broke out after a white male jury in Tampa found 4 white former Dade County policemen innocent in the death of black Miami businessman Arthur McDuffie.
The information, not guilty. So say we all.
Arthur McDuffie. And then this black guy saying, you know, you don't need the white people down here. Where is he at? Yeah, there he is.
It's on the street that the violence that transformed much of Liberty.
I don't know what happened to that guy. I haven't looked into that case. I'm just playing. Mm-hmm. This was played on Ock Nation News last night. I found it interesting, so I wanted to watch it with you. I've also got a debate if you want to check that out. And I got what's happening in Haiti, and I got some local Chicago crime.
All right, cool. Because you know what? I think Haiti is fascinating. I think Haiti is so fascinating. I mean, they have had self-governing for hundreds of years, and it is a sewer. And now they have no government. It's just gangs, right? It's chaos and gangs.
Yeah, it's barbecue. I have
Yeah.
an interview. I have an interview with Barbecue, who the UN said they wanted to put sanctions against. I don't know. Okay. So whatever order you want to go on, but I figure let's take a look at this and see if it's going to be similar to next year, right?
Okay, let's see. Because you know what? Something's coming up. We can
Something
all
comes
feel
up
it in the air. We can all feel
every
it in the
election.
air that something's coming up.
Yeah, Trayvon Martin 2012, Michael Brown 2016, George Floyd 2020, 2024. It's probably going to be a trans person or an immigrant. That's what I'm thinking.
City into rubble and left 16 people dead might be over.
All the white people, please, is burnt down. So we don't need them National Guard. You see what I'm saying? So what they should do is just pull them crackers on out. We don't need no curfew. Ain't nothing else around here for us to burn now.
But there were things left to burn, and for the third straight night, arsonists torched buildings and set Miami's skies ablaze. Snipers kept the firemen away. Authorities tried to be optimistic. The level of violence was down, they said. No one had died since Monday afternoon. Miami's fragmented black community met and selected former Miami Commissioner Athalie Range as their spokesman. She's trying to convince blacks that the violence is counterproductive. In hopes of slowing the destruction, already estimated in the hundreds of millions of dollars, Miami's government and civic leaders have adopted a conciliatory tone.
What we have here is a problem that no one person or no one organization or no one government can assume full responsibility for the failure. We're all responsible. And the solution for this problem is in us all.
What do you think about that?
You know, he's trying to be nice. He's trying to word it in a way that doesn't, like, you know, set people off even more. He's trying to be nice. You know, but we all know what they really want to say.
What's that?
That, you know, no, it's not one. It's not one organization. It's all these crazy ass black people burning everything down. It's not an organization. It's a group of people. A disorganized, whatever. Okay, you know, but you have to be very careful when you talk about the language of race and when you pinpoint a certain group of people when they're being absolutely wretched, because you don't want to sound like a racist. But when you've got a whole bunch of black people doing something like this, you know, you're like, oh, I don't want to sound like a racist.
This is the 80s. This just doesn't make sense to me. Like, this is something I was saying earlier. If I also have a movie clip I want to play from 1991 called The Super with Joe Pesci. And I think I'll have to talk over it and I'll have to just play it on mute because I don't want to get a copyright strike.
Mm-hmm.
And I want your opinion because that was 91 of just how they see this white yuppie. And I just want you to look at, like, oh, we'll see. I'll show you.
Okay.
Attorney General Benjamin Civiletti was in town, and tomorrow a federal grand jury will begin probing the death of black businessman Arthur McDuffie at the hands of 4 local white police officers. It was their acquittal in state court that touched off the violence on Saturday. NAACP President Benjamin Hooks is here. Jesse Jackson prayed with riot victims, and Andrew Young toured black neighborhoods, worrying that violence might spread to other U.S. cities.
Violence has a way, like nonviolence, of being contagious, and I am worried about it.
Young says there is little that black leaders can do to stop violence once it's erupted, that they can only translate the rage into some kind of positive change. That process is now underway. The hope is it will gain momentum as the rioters run out of steam. Steve Croft, CBS News, Miami.
As the rioters run out of steam?
Oh, as they run out of things to tear up and destroy?
Why hasn't segregation come back yet?
you know what?
Like when I hear the way they talk and I hear what they say and how they're treated, then why do they want to live around us or me? This is the
You know,
80s.
I
Where do you see the scene from the movie? Where do you see the scene from a movie? That was 1991. I'm going to show you the scene.
okay.
Like I don't understand. Like 40 years, and it had to exist before that.
For the current troubles.
Police were on the streets in force in Miami today after 4 of their number were wounded by sniper fire last night.
Sniper fire. That's the second time in this video about snipers. Earlier in the video, they said fire trucks couldn't get near fires because of sniper fire. Have you ever heard that before?
No. You know what?
only
Yes, I
snipe-
have. Yes, I have. Yes, I've
What,
heard
the
of it here.
DC
I've heard of
sniper?
it here in no. I've heard of sniper fire going after the police and like the EMT personnel and everything here in Chicago when they would try to respond to something in like in the projects and stuff like that, and they would have to watch out for sniper fire while they were trying to rescue or save someone.
Yeah, my buddy's a EMT at Temple University, and they're giving him shit because they found out that he wears a vest, and they mad.
They mad because he doesn't want to be shot in all his organs.
Yeah, trying to give him something like it inhibits your performance, and he's like, no, don't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Like, I don't want to get shot.
Okay, that's just
To
that's
remind
smart. Okay, go ahead.
Nah, it's just a denial of the reality we're in. But he said something fun at the interview. He said, or at his HR meeting, he said, you have to meet people where they are.
Of last May's rioting, a nervous quiet prevailed in the Liberty City area. Bruce Hall reports.
They're killing people here.
Terrified whites fled as gangs of youth pelted cars with rocks and bottles in the predominantly black Liberty City section of Miami. More than 24 people were injured before squads of riot-equipped police armed with tear gas guns marched in. Officials hoped the high police visibility would stop the violence in this area that was devastated.
So they're attacking whites.
Stated by riots only 2 months ago. However, at a large housing project, police fired round after round of tear gas to disperse gangs of youth. Firemen were also hampered by sporadic gunfire as they attempted to put out several blazes in the area. The police blamed the high incidence of snipers on the large number of weapons stolen during the May riots. Officers on the street said at times it appeared everyone had a gun. But only 11 people were arrested. Most were refusing to obey police orders. The area was quiet.
What do you think about that? All the shit they saw, they only arrested 11 people.
Okay,
they
everybody's got a
restrained?
gun, and they only you know what? I don't know. Were people running and they didn't want to run after them because they don't want to get shot, and they just arrested the low-hanging fruit?
Well, I'm just waiting for the heavy hand of white supremacy to just come in and wipe them all the face of the earth like a plague. Where is it?
Yeah. This is not 1920. Okay, where something like that could have happened.
Well, that did happen in New York. The military opened fire before on New York citizens. That happened.
Mm-hmm.
They actually gave a little slip of that history in Gangs of New York. They showed like that.
I actually saw that movie, and I thought it was like really good.
Well, that's another we're all immigrants bullshit again. Like that's that fucking lefty trope, magic dirt. Like they think I could go to China and suddenly magically become Chinese. It's just weird. I'm just making the point that like everybody has guns. They're opening fire, and they arrested 11 people, and that's all they arrested.
11.
They did. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Where is this white supremacy that if a black person does something, what do they call it? White woman tears. Well, if you make a white woman cry, she's going to call the police, and that's your last day on earth because the police are going to kill you. Right? Right? Like, I don't.
Well, you know what? Well, white women tears are a whole different ball game because it's manipulative of everybody, not just black people, but it's manipulative of white men. When white women cry, and it's not even legitimate. It's just like it's a reflex. Like, okay, I'm just gonna cry because I want to get you off of me. And they do that not just to black people, but they do that to their husbands, to their boyfriends, to whoever. Immediately if you cry, then you're like, I'm so delicate, I'm so vulnerable, you're doing me wrong, I don't know. And it's a tactic. But that's just not it's just not isolated to white women. A lot of people do that. They get upset and they want to get out of accountability, and so suddenly they start to cry because now they want to portray themselves as the victim. It's not just a white woman thing. I think it's a human thing because I've seen it with other people. I mean, not everything is racism. Racism does exist, but not everything is racism.
That's not what I'm told, but I get what you're saying.
What? And I was just talking to a whole room full of people just a little while ago this morning, and I was like, you know what? Yes, racism does exist because there are people who genuinely are racist, but not everybody's a racist, and not everything is racism. Sometimes it's just a clash because you have some people who are over the line, who are beyond the pale, who are criminals, who are, whatever they got going on, they're antisocial, period. And it may not have anything to do with racism. Maybe they're just a jerk. Maybe it's the clash between classes.
Yeah.
It could be a lot of things. It's not just because somebody of one race and somebody of another race has a clash, it's not automatically racism. Occasionally it is, but it's not automatically. Sometimes it's just a clash of personalities. Sometimes it's a clash that you have, like, this person is just a damn criminal. And this other person is trying to watch their back and say, hey. Now, I always look at it like this. And I've said this to you before. I have people in my family, black people, blackity black people. And if you could hear the stuff that comes out of their mouth, blackity black. If you could hear the stuff that comes out of their mouth when they talk about black people, you would think they had a Confederate flag flying in their front yard.
But to the left, isn't that called colorism?
Colorism is when you value light as opposed to dark.
Oh, light-skinned.
Yeah, light-skinnedness. That's colorism. You want that, but like I said,
when African Americans make fun of Africans from Africa.
That too. I don't know if that's colorism or is that cultural. That's a cultural thing. And trust me, I work for a company that the majority of the people that I work with are from different countries in Africa. So we all black, but it's a big difference culturally.
It's a cultural shift.
It's I've had Africans, tell me that I wasn't black. I'm like, what? As black as I am, give me a break. But they have a whole different ball game going on because I am mixed race. Because I'm mixed race, so they don't consider me black. They consider themselves black. I'm like, okay, whatever. Tell it to the police if I get pulled down. Yeah, I'm joking. I've never had a problem with the police. I date the police.
Well, let me pause for a second. Like when you say, so I'm going to present this, I'm going to show you this, and then I'm going to tell you why I'm racist and I profile. And this is right out of your own city. Okay. This happened the other night. Or we can go back to the riot thing if you want, but I want to, if you want to jump around, we can jump around.
Yeah, let's jump around. Let's go where it flows.
After a large teen gathering in the South Loop became what police are describing as disorderly.
Tia Ewing is live for us. First at 4. Tia? Well, Anthony and Natalie, the Chicago Police Department describing this as a new tactic that they are using. We know that 40 people were arrested, and some of them...
A new tactic, arresting kids when they out of control. That's
And our
called a
mayor
new
doesn't
tactic.
like that. Our mayor does not like that.
Oh, where do you hear what they found? Wait.
As young as 12 years old were hit with misdemeanors for reckless conduct. A 15-year-old was arrested for having a gun with a silencer on it. A 17-year-old had a machine gun on.
That's why I profile.
And our mayor is like saying, making excuses for these, for these kids, the kids. He's making excuses for them. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? A gun? A silencer? A what?
A machine gun. And the 17-year-old had a machine gun.
A freaking machine gun?
Well, that's what all the rappers have. They have the glizzies with the extendos and the switches. They're called glizzies, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, and when you ask him, so just what were you planning on doing with that besides murder and mayhem? But then again, our mayor is the same guy who, when he was a school teacher, didn't want to give out grades because he didn't want to discourage the kids. He's gonna take Chicago straight down into the sewer. You thought Lightfoot was a bad mayor? This guy's a freaking nightmare. This guy's gonna turn Chicago into San Francisco or Portland.
Yeah, well, I'll keep going.
Okay, keep going.
He too was.
Well, let's order of a mass arrest at Roosevelt Canal. Let everyone know it was going to be a mass arrest situation.
And you heard it right there. Teens arrested. Yes, up to 40 of them. The teens gathered in the South Loop, making their way to Canal and Roosevelt. Then here off of Grinshaw and Jefferson, just a few blocks away. That's where the 7-Eleven is. It's estimated that between 300 to 400 teens showed up, quickly spreading out across the area. There were fights and looting. The worker inside the 7-Eleven hit their hold up alarm button as the teens rushed inside. Many of the teens took merchandise and then threw it all over the parking lot. Interim Police Superintendent Fred Waller describing the mass arrest situation.
It should send a message because some of those are juvenile, so it should send a message to the families and to the parents. And we know everyone doesn't have a predictable home life, but we're trying to deal with the youth in a certain way to try to offer other things for them to do and other avenues except arrest. And we haven't arrested people like that, but this group got so out of hand that we had no choice.
What do you think about what he said? Is he trying to really walk a thin line with how he's talking?
He's ridiculous. Well, I'm sorry. There's not enough youth centers over on the west side or the south side. So the kids are bored. So they pick up their machine guns and go downtown and riot. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
The poor kids, they just don't have enough to do. So they just.
But wasn't that what the Central Park jogger was? Those kids were wilding.
They were wild. They had a whole thing going on in New York around that time where, I remember it was I think it was the Puerto Rican parade where they were just snatching women and sexually assaulting women, wilding out. Yeah. Yeah, they had a whole thing going on in New York at that time. I remember those days.
I mean, I'm gonna make a separate point that I tell people that they don't like. However you feel about the Bernie Getz shooting in '84, the white electrician who shot the 4 black teens.
I remember him on the subway, right?
Yeah. They said, "Give me $5." They didn't ask.
Give
And
me.
when you're sitting, and four men are standing over you, and one of them says, "Give me $5," that's the threat. That's force or the threat of force. They didn't have their screwdrivers out because they said their plan was to go to an arcade and crack it open and take all the money. So they didn't
So they
have the
was planning on some
screwdrivers in their
criminal
hand.
activity anyway.
Well, some low level shit. Stealing
Mhm.
quarters is low level shit. But they
Yeah.
had weapons. They had 3 sharpened screwdrivers. They weren't in their hands.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was essentially the threat of force. So a strong arm robbery, and then he stood up and shot each of them. And James Ramseur, who was one of the 4, he wasn't the one who got the brain injury. But 2 months later, James Ramseur was sentenced to, I think, 15 years in prison because 2 months after that, he raped a pregnant woman on a rooftop. So you would think that after some 30-year-old nerdy white guy, shoots you, you might just maybe choose, a new path. Sorry, Wicked, I lost you. I don't know if you had a call coming.
Now, I can tell you that the 7-Eleven is open. They, in fact, have a monitoring system right in their parking lot, monitoring everything that's going on now. That was put in by the Chicago Police Department after this looting situation unfolded last night. A teen trend text was sent out right before 3 last night. By 8 o'clock, teens were completely swarming the area. Chicago Police also using the help of community programs, community partners that were out here as well, trying to discourage these teens from this bad behavior. Live.
Hey, Wicked, are you there? I think I lost you. Oh, okay, there you are. I can hear you now. There we go. Okay. Hey, is that you? Now I got 2 of you on the chat. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Hold on.
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I was diagnosed with AFib. The first inkling that something was wrong was I started.
Okay, there I am.
Hey, there you are. Now I can hear you. I got 2 of you up here.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me? I can hear you.
Oh, shoot. That's stupid.
Wiki, can you hear me? Do you want to try to go back out and come back in? Would that work? Do you want me to hit the next video?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. Here, I've turned on my big screen and it's trying to sync. I think I'll just turn it back off because it's a delay I can't deal with. Give me 1 second. Let me turn this off.
Yeah, take your time. No problem.
Okay. Am I in here? What's going on?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? We lost Wicked. Okay, some technical difficulties. We'll keep the next video going though.
Only on 2, we're learning a security guard died just blocks away the day before.
Sabrina Franza is here. Sabrina, you spoke to his wife, who just wants to know what happened. Jackie Fisher loved being a security guard, and his wife loved that about him. But Saturday.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can. Sorry about that. I had some technical difficulties.
No
My
problem.
TVs like to sync up to my phone.
No problem.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
So, what do you think about? So, you said the mayor was upset about the police arresting these kids.
Yeah, because his whole thing is his whole attitude toward like these kids, like, you know, running rampage through the city is they just don't have enough to do. They're bored. There's not enough community centers. They need guidance. You know, that's his whole attitude. It's like, you know what? We have some real criminals. We have some serious ass real criminals, and they are young. And he is like, oh, they're just kind of misunderstood. You know, he's got this whole attitude towards, like, you know, towards these kids, and they are kids. And he's always had that attitude, even when he was a teacher. He was a teacher that didn't want to give out grades because he didn't want to discourage them.
Or homework. That was also his way. That was his way of fighting the system, remember?
Right. And so then you end up with these kids who are like functional idiots. So he just, you know, divestors say this stuff all the time. They just want to be able to let them run wild, just run roughshod over all of us, just create mayhem and murder. And we're all just supposed to sit back like, oh, okay. You know, don't let us inconvenience you with law and order and logic.
And it was like, and we were seeing that in the 80s.
Yes.
Well, so this security guard was beaten to death at a movie theater because he told some black kids to leave. Did you hear this? He was 72. Just like in Philly over the summer, the guy was beat with a traffic cone.
That's crazy. And they were young. They beat that guy with that traffic cone, and they were kids. They were kids.
And like 11 to 14. And they showed their photos. That was the first time in Philly they started showing photos of teenagers, of black teens. Like, I didn't believe that. I was like, wow.
Just blocks away the day before.
Sabrina Franza is here. Sabrina, you spoke to his wife, who just wants to know what happened. Jackie Fisher loved being a security guard, and his wife loved that about him. But Saturday was their 22nd wedding anniversary.
You're smiling too much.
Yeah, this is more serious than that look on her face.
What the fuck? He's dead. Give it the levity it deserves.
Yeah, dead in a horrible way. This is not a 98-year-old who died in his bed, you know, with his grandchildren around him.
Remember the story we covered of the woman hit by the bus?
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, oh, she was fucking murdered. They seem to do the same thing. So do you notice a pattern? When it's black on black or black on anyone else, it's treated like, let's remember the victim. They were this uplifting person. They were so wonderful, and they gave to their community. But when it's an issue like Jacob Blake or Ma'Khia Bryant or Trayvon Martin or George Floyd, they didn't even treat the girl who was killed at the Wendy's like this. I should know her name. She was 8 years old. She was killed by the Bloods. I should know her name.
You know, no, they're not going to do that because they don't want. It's like when you actually look and you see what you see what these guys are doing. It's crazy. It's like how freaking crazy, antisocial, murderous. Like what are you doing? And you're doing it consistently as a group. but they've got the best freaking PR that you've ever heard of in your life, because you cannot objectively like put this on the table and examine it and say what is going on with this group of people that is causing this much mayhem.
Do you think this woman, had this been a white cop who killed a black teen, do you think this woman would just so nonchalantly talk this way?
Her face would have been so serious. But this, it's just another story. Just be pleasant. It's not a tragedy.
Happened. Jackie Fisher loved being a security guard, and his wife loved.
Look at her fucking smile. Like, look at this shit.
Like she's like she looks happy.
Yeah.
Loved that about him, but Saturday was their 22nd wedding anniversary. She says she begged him to take off work, and he didn't. That was the last time that she saw him alive.
That day we went bowling on our anniversary, and he said to me he had to go home and get his clothes so he can go to work. And the last thing I remember, him going out that door and turned around and just looked at me. And that was it.
Barbara Fisher worried about her husband every time he left for work at the Showplace Icon Theater in the South Loop.
But he loved the job, and whenever they called him, whatever shift it was, he just went.
Recently, she says, his work became more and more dangerous. Fisher was beaten back in February for enforcing the theater's new rules. No guests under the age of 17 can.
Who beat him?
More of the sons.
But is this an example of black men fucking it up for everyone else?
And themselves. They are their main central enemy. I don't know what the statistic is, but I think it's something crazy. It's like a black man in this country kills another black man.
17 minutes.
Because I was going to say 22 minutes, but 17. Yeah, that sounds about right. They are their main enemy. They hate everybody, and they really hate themselves.
So this guy was already beaten. They're not going to tell us who did it. And I know this place has cameras. And I wanted to cover some time on Wednesday. I had the Timothy Simpkins trial, but oh my God.
Enter without a parent or guardian after 6 p.m. It's a rule a staff member tells CBS 2 began after they saw an increase in disruptive young adults at that location.
I said, this is what you need to do. Go to work and just leave the teenagers alone. He said, but I can't do that because I'm getting paid and not doing my job. So it costed him his life.
Saturday, police sources say a group of teens visited the theater. 72-year-old Fisher was again doing his job. He tried to escort them away. He suffered some sort of medical episode and was taken to the hospital where he later died. The medical examiner has not released the official cause of his death.
So it's devastating.
Staff at the theater was not able to speak to us on camera. We've contacted their corporate office for a response to this. We've also reached out to Chicago police to see if there's been any arrests or movement in either of these attacks. There has not been.
Now, only on 2, we're learning a security.
So he was beaten twice.
Twice. And the second time, the stress of it killed him.
Well, I don't know because I don't know.
I mean, you know what? You can't take a trimming like that at that age anyway. At that age, you turn your head wrong. You got to take Motrin for a damn month, much less having some kids, beat the snot out of you.
And if he had shot one of them, unless it was like life or death, he would have been in trouble, right?
He would have been in big time. He'd have been in big trouble. But you know what? I'd rather be in trouble and be alive,
Yeah.
than, it's okay. I will go to jail and sit on Big Judy's lap and work on my master's degree, but I will be alive.
Well, speaking of your mayor.
Weekend, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson addresses his selection process for the police superintendent.
along with the city's efforts to relocate migrants.
WGN's political reporter Tamon Bradley is live at City Hall this afternoon with more on
Relocate migrants. Is Chicago not a sanctuary city anymore?
You know what? We're kind of full. I mean, it sounded good when we said we were a sanctuary city until people actually started showing up. I mean, as I speak to you,
Man, you went out again. Okay, I can hear you again.
Okay. Oh, I said, okay. So about 2.5 blocks from me, there's a Hotel 8 that they've just reconfigured as a migrant shelter. And people are really upset because this is a quiet, edge of the city, nice neighborhood. And now we got people. And now we got people. You know, I was out at an ungodly hour of the night, you know, making a run. And a friend and I, we're like, what is with all of the police cars patrolling back and forth? I've never seen this over here, because they're in the park, they're doing everything they want to do, and people are not happy. But we called ourselves a sanctuary city. Well, you know what? Well, now they've shown up. Whew. Now what you gonna do?
Relocation. That's what it sounds like they're gonna do.
and what the mayor had to say and his plan. Come on.
What's up?
No, I'm just saying, where are they gonna relocate them to? Because they're not gonna relocate them anywhere around here. That they're not going to any of the northern suburbs. They're not going to the westerns. The northern suburbs is where the big money is in Chicago. Okay. The western suburbs, they got money over there too. They're not, nope. No room in the inn for you. The southern suburbs are mainly black. So maybe they can put some up around there, but I don't know. So I don't know what they're going to do with these people.
But they're gonna get shot and beat up by the blacks.
Yeah.
Right?
It's gonna be ugly. It's gonna be ugly. And you know what's gonna be really ugly about it is that Chicago, the way the city is situated as far as races go, it is a very segregated city, period. I live in one of the few neighborhoods that's, you know, like really integrated, just everything and everybody. But it's a real segregated city. Mexicans and Hispanic people, they live with themselves. And you know what? They watch after themselves too. They're a tight-knit community. When the shit has hit the fan around here in Chicago and stuff was jumping off, this city split along race base real quick. And it just happened during the Black Lives Matter. So,
but are you really surprised?
I'm not surprised, but I'm looking at it like this is going to be a bad situation if something jumps off, because the Hispanic people, they're going to look after their own. And and the black people, you know, we got a lot of dregs of society who are quick to pop off. You know, who will take out some frustration on them, because they take out frustration on one another.
Well, we played that city hall meeting where they said next time they were going to deal with it from the street. And
they will. Don't think they won't. We got a history of that in Chicago. I remember. Okay, I'm talking memories. But when we had the '68 riots in Chicago, and the Italians got on the roofs of their houses with their guns and everything, and said, "Nah, y'all not bringing that over here." So Chicago is I can't compare it to other cities. I just know this city. And if it pops off, people go to their own squares, except for the liberals. Okay.
Yeah, well, the liberals aren't coming near me. They're not going to fucking drag me down.
Okay.
No, not my family.
No, you know what? Look, if you don't look after your family, who's going to look after them? I mean,
already
I'm not
told you
trying
we're
to be
moving
like,
to
you
the
know, Miss
side of a mountain.
Vigilante, you know, and Miss, you know, Clint Eastwood's like,
That's not what I'm saying.
you know,
I'm not.
but
I have no intention of being Charles Bronson. That's not what I'm saying.
right, right. But if you don't look after your family in the beginning and in the end, who will? The only thing the police are going to do is write up a report afterwards. Oh, that sounds
Right.
so cynical. Shame on me. Shame on me.
It's been 2.5 months on the job, and Mayor Johnson is urging patience. He's got to make a big decision soon about Chicago's next police superintendent, but he's in no rush. With the deadline to make his selection for Chicago's next top cop fast approaching, Mayor Brandon Johnson says he's purposely being deliberate.
It's important that we're intentional and that we take our time so that we make the right decision.
The superintendent finalists are Larry Snelling and Angel Navalles, both high-ranking officials from within CPD, and Sean Barnes.
Do you know anything about any of these guys?
No, but I'll be hearing a whole lot about them. But this is going to be interesting because this is all politics. Who is he going to be able to appoint that will be acceptable to the police union, which is extremely powerful, but who still will be mild-mannered enough to like not do a damn thing the way he wants the police not to do a damn thing?
So he wants someone to obey him.
Yes, definitely. This is going to be a hot ass mess because the police in Chicago hated Lori Lightfoot, hated her. And now here comes this guy.
Well, they weren't allowed to do anything.
No, they couldn't.
And Kim Foxx let him go.
And this guy is going to let them do even less. The only vision I have for this guy as mayor is that we are going to have the same stuff that you see popping off, you know, out in California, out in Oregon. We're going to have the same crap popping off here, where, you know, basically it's like, you know what, just let them run wild. Just everybody shoplift. Don't even chase them. Just let them. That's the vision I have for this guy. I think that's what he's going to do to this city. And I'm out of here. And I love this city, but I'm out. I'm getting the hell out of here.
Who serves as police chief in Madison, Wisconsin. Johnson says he's scheduling time for each candidate to make presentations.
I want to make sure that whatever decision that we made and whomever we decide to hire, that the people of Chicago are very clear about how that decision was made. And so those initial conversations with the three candidates will begin shortly.
As Johnson picks the next leader of the department, he's facing questions about the interim superintendent. WBZ is reporting that in 1994, Fred Waller was accused of domestic violence by his then wife, who ultimately stopped cooperating with an investigation of the incident before CPD concluded the complaint was not sustained. The mayor shrugged off the report.
Fred Waller being willing to come out of retirement to serve in this capacity is a tremendous sacrifice. You know, as far as any dynamics that have.
Well, what's up?
Oh, okay. The woman beater. Okay. Just let him run wild. Let him run wild, right? Because we don't have no standards.
Well, not when you're mayor, not when the governor just said they're going to hire non-citizens, right? And he wants those non-citizens to not have guns.
So what they going to do? Use harsh language?
They're going to get
I
killed.
mean, is this just, okay. Okay. They're going to be bringing their own guns.
Occurred in the past. As I understand it, that initial investigation had been settled and solved.
As he prepares for the city's next big summer event, Lollapalooza, this weekend, the mayor is wrestling with how to deal with Chicago's influx of migrants.
Here's what I'm committed to doing. Honoring the law of being a sanctuary city, and building systems of care that provide a pathway with dignity for individuals who are seeking refuge and hope here in the city of Chicago
In recent weeks, the Johnson administration has been especially focused on moving migrants from police stations to city shelters.
No one should be living in police stations. It's just that no one should be.
As various stakeholders continue to raise concerns about scarce resources, Mayor Johnson insists Chicago will continue to welcome new residents. We're live from City Hall. Timon Bradley, WG.
And I figured this was a good segue into Haiti.
Okay. Yeah.
But
Actually, yeah.
But before we do that, I want to ask your opinion about something. I was fighting with a family member last night. Your age, 70, right?
Just about. Actually, I'll be 61.
Okay. All right. My mistake. You don't sound a day over 40.
That's okay.
He was telling me that my views are, he's like, I don't understand. Like, where do you learn all this? He's like, why do you see things the way you see things? And he's like, I lived in the ghetto of Atlantic City, and I don't have the viewpoints you have. And this is the same person that when I was living next to a dealer at 23rd and Wolf in Philly, he wanted to take captain's chairs and sit outside and be seen. And I was like, I don't understand. You're well aware of the violence that happens. So why the fuck do you want to be hanging out on the corner?
Yeah. What,
And he was like, I don't understand. I was like, all right. I said, let me explain something to you. And I'm about to identify myself a little bit. My parents lived on the edge of West Philly. Well, my mom and stepdad, I had a lot of stepdads. We lived on the edge of West Philly by 69th Street, right?
Mm-hmm.
69th Street is the last stop on the Market Frankfurt line, which runs east and west. And that goes right into the burb of Upper Darby. And we were right on the edge of West Philly, and my parents didn't want me to go to a Philly school. So they sent me to an all-black school called Penwood before I went to Upper Darby. And Penwood was a majority black school. And I told my family member,
Uh-oh, I think we lost sound.
do you know the difference between the Asians and the whites in high school?
What?
The Asians started grouping together in numbers.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They wouldn't go to the bathroom by themselves. They would sit at tables in groups of 20.
Mm-hmm.
But do you know what they never did? You know what a wigger is, right?
Yeah.
What's the word for Asian?
No, I done seen Asian wiggers, hon. I done seen them calling each other nigger and all the rest of that. Mm-hmm.
I didn't see it I didn't see it at Penwood.
Okay, well, I've seen it on the
And
street.
I didn't see it at Upper Darby.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it doesn't happen that often, but I have seen it. Even my, my spouse's cousin, considered himself a hip hop kid, breakdancing on the street, and he went through the phase too. What's up, my nigga? You're like, excuse me, aren't you?
What I saw were my kids who look like me, trying to blend in with people who routinely were violent towards them. And I don't understand why. Because it seemed to me that the harder you tried, the more you got your ass whooped.
Yeah, because they really don't respect you.
Right. I didn't see any Asians at Penwood doing that. And it got so bad that I was moved to another school. It finally, it only took a year for my fucking parents to get it. But that was because another kid almost got beat to death. It wasn't me. And I was like, why? why would you try to assimilate to the violent group?
Right.
What are you assimilating to?
Because you know what? Because you know,
What is that?
I think for some white people, they have this whole sense of guilt and shame about shit they never even did. You know, they want to be the good guys. They want to be seen as the good guys. And so they are just going to go above and beyond and like throw common sense out the damn window because they don't want to be the bad guys and they don't want to be associated with the bad guys. Even though it doesn't make a bit of sense. It's like, okay, you see this is happening. Don't you have a sense of self-preservation? Why are you?
Well, someone could say that was a sense of preservation to be like a chameleon. But the only thing I noticed was that just made the ass whoopings increase.
Yeah, because they're looking at you. They don't respect you. They know what you're doing. They don't respect you. And they got, I know that there are people who will say Black people cannot be racist because racist is, prejudice combined with the power to actually affect change.
Yeah, that's that's from sociology. Yeah, that's their definition.
But I know I know of Black people who hate white people, who are suspicious of white people, who literally just, white people are the devils to them, period.
Well, for the devil, why do we live together?
They can get lick out, they will.
Right. And if you know that, then again, why do we live together?
Because some Black people, some Black people like me are like, don't put me over there in that category. I'm trying to live in peace. And then you guys, and they, hey, look, who's got the resources? Who's got the clean water in their towns? Who's got law and order? Who's got grocery stores? Zaddy is fulfilling his promise as a provider. You go to these Black towns, what do you get? So yeah, there are Black people who are like, they want the resources that Zaddy provides, even though they don't like you, and they want the white women.
Here.
Okay.
Let's
not forget that.
I wanted to bring this up. Hang on. All right. You ever hear of this movie? Did you see this?
What's that?
It's called The Super, 1991, Joe Pesci.
Oh, yeah. I think I saw that back in those days.
I want to play the scene. I don't know if this will get my channel popped, but I'm going to try. You ready?
Uh-huh.
I don't think that's going to be a big problem.
This car got demolished. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like your automobile lost a little weight.
And he asked him who did it, and they don't know nothing. They didn't see nothing, right?
Oh no, nobody's gonna tell.
But it's not funny when it happens to them, right? It's tragic.
Oh yeah, because they work hard for their stuff.
Now, I understand that the context of this movie is this guy is a wealthy, rich yuppie who's a terrible landlord. I understand that. but this is from 91, and I'm just trying to show the perspective that Hollywood is showing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's interesting to compare it. So then he goes to a local store, or I don't know if it's called, I guess this would be like a black bodega, because it has a black, that's something I never see in the black store owner. It's usually, they're rare, they're very rare, but it's usually like Asian, Latino, you know, Arab. It, I didn't see a lot. There were only a few black store owners when I was in Philly. But they were more towards like Germantown or the Grant 30th. What the fuck was it? Grant Media. And you're taking Route 30, which is towards Villanova. There were more there were more black store owners on the fringes outside of the city than inside of the city. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But there were a lot of black store owners on 69th Street. But that's because it was in a fucking suburb. It was going into the white suburb, which isn't a white suburb anymore. That was 20 years ago. But check out this scene when he goes into the store, and then you tell me. I'm just curious what you see. You know.
Hey, nice outfit. Where's the rest of the band? Where's the storekeeper, guys? Hey. Oh, what do I look like, a mirage?
So they're hanging out, playing pool, not answering any questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're already not talking to him. They don't want to talk to him, right?
Yeah, no.
Okay, because he's wrong. Because he's the wrong color, right?
Yeah, they're like, okay, who's this guy? Who's this guy?
What are you doing? What are you doing here, Whitey? We don't want to talk to you.
What the hell do you want?
What I want.
What the hell do you want? This is the guy who owns the store.
Customer service.
What the hell do you? I know you told me your father owned a liquor store. Is that is that what he would tell people? What the fuck do you want?
I can honestly say no.
Okay. All right.
I want to get fitted for a tuxedo. Is this a grocery store or what? You sell these groceries, you guys got them for snacks.
What do you need?
Okay, let me see. I got my girl coming over. I need some wine. What kind of wine do you have here? You got... What the fuck is that? You expect me to drink screw top wine?
You want a buzz? It's gonna have to come from this.
Maybe I'll just get some essentials so we don't starve to death. Holy shit! Your bread is older than your fucking wine. You get it? This is aged. This should be aged. You get it? What a sense of humor. Man, candid camera in this place or what?
Should he have shame for selling shitty food?
You would think. I was like, okay, get the food. Are you selling the food, or is this just there as props because you got something else going on?
I'll have peanut butter. Do you have any peanut butter?
One kind only.
One kind. Let me ask you a question. Why is it that you have 24 different kinds of pork rinds and you only have one kind of peanut butter?
Because we don't get too many fussy little white pricks in here.
Right.
Is this supposed to be funny?
This is from 1991. So I'm just gonna let it play again. I'm not gonna play the sound. So he walks into the store, no one talking to you because they don't want you there. The guy's annoyed you're trying to buy stuff. You have liquor, but you don't have bread. and he's annoyed you're there and doesn't even want to talk to you, and no one wants to see you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, why do we try to pretend that it's working?
Yeah, like why? Why just walk out? You're not welcome.
Wow. I meant integration. That's what I meant. Like
You
if,
know
if
what?
this is like
They wanted integration. I think that I said some people wanted integration for one reason, and some people wanted it for another. Some
but it
people wanted
came
integration because, oh, we're all just human beings and we should live together as one, and we're all brothers and sisters. And then some people wanted integration because they wanted access to what Zaddy can provide, and then some people wanted integration because they wanted access to white women.
So what do you, and again, you're my co-host and I'll shut up now. What do you think of, what are you taking away from this scene? This is 1991. And I understand that the whole purpose of this movie is this guy's a yuppie, he's rich, he doesn't get it. He's an asshole, he treats people horribly. This is like Dangerous Minds, where the white person is being taught their ways are wrong, and that it's the brown people teaching them how life really is, and that they're suffering, but they change them to be on their side, like the movie Dangerous Minds.
Oh my gosh.
With Mekhi Phifer.
Uh,
with Coolio.
Yeah. I don't know. I just, I kind of look at Joe Pesci. I know they want to make him look like he's the yuppie, but I just think of him as like, this Italian New York guy. I know, and I this movie, I think it was intended on being kind of like a comedy.
Oh, it can be, but I'm saying, like, from this scene, what are you taking away? Because I'm curious I told you what I think. What do you think?
It's like I'm looking at him, and I don't know, he's there. Is it? Look, I think that he's like, I don't give a damn what you people are doing. I'm coming in here and, like, I'm trying to conduct some kind of business. Instead of, if I were him and I saw that kind of, like, that kind of resistance, I would just walk away.
Right.
This looks dangerous to me. If I was a white man, if I was a little white man going into that kind of situation, I would walk away because that looks dangerous.
And then especially when they tell you they don't want you in there, right?
They don't want you in there, and you outnumbered. Right. None of your people are around. You on your own.
Right. And then what's weird is during this whole fucking movie, this little black kid follows him around. And it's like he's the spiritual link to the black people.
Oh yeah, of course.
I like he's waiting for him outside the store here.
Just the wise but innocent child.
You see that? And then he talks to him and he convinces him to change and bend his way. It's like, well, anyway, that's what I wanted to show you. So that was in 91.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm taking it like, hey, they don't want you here. When you're here, they just take your shit.
If they can.
And it's fun. And it's funny.
Oh yeah, it's funny. It's reparations.
All right, I just want to see what you thought. Do you want me to do more stuff like that? Do you want me to bring in like popular media and stuff? Because I can.
Popular media is always fun.
All right, you want to get to Haiti?
Let's do Haiti, because Haiti is so fascinating to me.
And then I also have a debate today too. I got a debate between. I'm telling you, I have my exit interview today from the private sector because I'm entering the public sector Monday. And I'm going to be very nice, unload, and leave. But anyway, Haiti.
Okay.
Now here's my beef with this.
Humanitarian crisis worsening in Haiti, violent gangs overpowering police and now pushing out Americans. Americans. The U.S. State Department now ordering all U.S. government employees, non-emergency personnel, and their families to leave the country, citing the kidnapping, crime, civil unrest, and poor health interests. The order following a travel advisory from the U.S. Embassy in Haiti on Thursday, advising all U.S. nationals to leave the country immediately due to escalating clashes between gangs and police in Port-au-Prince. According to a U report, gangs control almost 80% of the capital and have already forced more than 165,000 Haitians to flee their homes.
No one deserves to live.
And they're coming here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, they are. They're coming straight up through the Mexican border.
Right now, you're afraid of being kidnapped for a money that you don't have. We cannot continue to live in a country that don't respect.
What does that mean?
What is she talking about?
We can't continue to live in a country that don't respect us.
They don't respect their own people. Right. They don't respect their own people.
But the president died 2 years ago, right?
Yeah. And where's the new president? Who's the new leader of Haiti?
Barbecue.
This week, those who couldn't flee desperately seeking safe refuge outside the U.S. Embassy. The gangs just shoot and take control of the area. They took her house and now we're on the street, said this woman camping outside. Yet the group was later removed by police. The Caribbean country has been in free fall since the...
Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Is she faking? Or was she tased?
I don't think she's faking.
Police. The Caribbean country has been in free fall since the...
You don't think she's faking?
I don't think she's faking. She may be dramatic.
Assassination of President Jovenel Moïse 2 years ago, which left a state without an effective government.
I've seen the situation for myself. Conditions are desperate, but solutions are possible if we act now.
Amid the crisis, the UN also attempting to distribute humanitarian support after a report found that more than 5 million people require aid to survive. And making matters worse, data indicates violent crimes, including homicide and rape, more than doubled in 2023 compared to last year. A critical time for a country rapidly deteriorating into chaos.
And tonight, Guad joins us from our Telemundo Center in Miami. Guad, U.S. authorities say they cannot provide assistance for any Americans who choose to remain in the country. And that's a pretty dire warning right there.
What do you think about that?
You know, they can't. It's been a free-for-all in Haiti for years. For years. Any American that goes there, anybody with a comment, anybody with a brain in their head that goes to Haiti is an idiot.
You're going into my next video.
Oh, okay.
Tom,
this is my beef with white Christians. Holy shit. This is my fucking beef with white people. Oh my God.
Means that Americans who stay would have to depend on the national police and local ambulances and hospitals, keeping in mind there are shortages of gasoline, electricity, and medicine. Also, Tom, both private and public hospitals in Haiti often lack the equipment and the staff to treat patients the way they need to. They would also have to deal with the violence. All of this if they choose to remain in Haiti.
But why do they lack all of that? How much aid? Hang on. U.S. aid to Haiti. So USAID has provided over $110 million in life-saving humanitarian assistance to Haiti this year. How much U.S. aid does the U.S. give to Haiti? The United States USAID has provided more than $228 million since 2021.
You know, that's what they say. That's what. Excuse me. Sorry. Hold on 1 second.
Oh, I know it doesn't go to the people.
That's what they say they spent. But really, where is that money going? Where did all the money that the Red Cross got for Haiti go? That money is being siphoned off. Oh, sorry. Oh,
Are you okay?
yeah, I was eating a hot pepper. It makes me cough. Okay, but how much of that money is actually getting to the Haitian people and how much is being siphoned off? Because that country, you know, puts the C in corruption. I mean, I forgot how many millions and millions and millions of dollars the Red Cross raised specifically for Haiti and how many houses they actually built.
Yeah, this says here that Haiti received from the U.S. $13 billion in foreign aid, especially after the earthquake.
And where? Because I'm looking at Haiti and it just looks like the damn apocalypse. It looks like a black French apocalypse with damn zombies. I mean, Haiti was already poor. They're already sitting there eating freaking mud cakes.
Oh, the dirt cookies. Now,
you know?
Now let me show you. Now, I had to go to Al Jazeera to find this. I couldn't find this on any U.S. lefty-leaning, not even any conservative or neocon fucking channel. This is from Al Jazeera. This is what. So, for anyone who's ever going to watch the show, maybe you know what? Let's do this. Let's take a quick pause. Little land geography, right?
Okay.
Hispaniola. For anyone who doesn't know.
Right, because on the one side is Haiti and the other side is the Dominican Republic. And they are battling it out like hell because they do not want the Haitians coming over to their country. They're like, we're poor enough. We don't need your asses.
But I guess and that's not to say that the Dominican Republic doesn't have corruption, but why is the Dominican Republic? Why is the Dominican Republic? Well, how come one side of the island is different from the other side?
That, you know what, I'm gonna guess it has something to do with the French. The fact that all these years later, Haiti is still paying not reparations, but
the loan.
Haiti is still paying a crap load of money to the French for their freedom. And it's just been, all the places down there are corrupt. There's just a whole lot of just built-in corruption. But Haiti's just a toilet. It's been a toilet forever.
So here's Dominican Republic, what they're doing.
To divide the Caribbean island of Hispaniola, it's designed to
They're building a wall.
separate the Dominican Republic from Haiti. Dominican General Rafael Núñez says the wall will play a crucial role in his country against contraband and illegal immigration.
Over there, you can see where the first stage ends. Over this part of the country, of the perimeter wall that we are building.
Haiti is in turmoil. Thousands are desperate to escape gang-related violence and hunger. The Dominican Republic is trying to prevent refugees from entering the country and has deported over 50,000 Haitians in the past 5 months. General Frank Cabrera says the Dominican government is simply not equipped to offer refuge to so many needy people.
We share a border with one of the poorest countries in the Western Hemisphere. Haiti is in the middle of a political, economic, and social crisis. Some say that 60% is controlled by armed non-state actors or gangs. Imagine a country that is controlled by gangs. We allow Haitians to cross and get supplies, but cannot do much more.
And that's why for many, this wall is necessary.
This is what the fence is going to look like. It's going to be about 4 meters tall. And in some areas where there's like more population, it's going to have metal bars. And in rural areas, it's going to look much more like this type, because the risks of people trying to cross over are smaller.
The wall is being built mostly by Haitian workers here in the country legally, who represent some of the Dominican Republic's cheap labor force. The wall is expected to cover 160.
Why do they say it like that?
Like
They
what?
they represent some of Dominican Republic's cheap labor force.
You know what? If the Dominican Republic considers you a cheap labor source, because number one, the wages down there are garbage anyway.
Yeah.
But the few legal Haitians that they allow in the country, they really get to pay even less money too. People who need the money so much, they're in a country that doesn't welcome them, that doesn't want them there, and they're building a wall to keep the rest of their people out. There's a whole lot of irony going on.
Why doesn't the Dominican Republic like Haiti? Didn't Haiti try to take over? That wasn't there a war with that side of the island?
Yeah, that's why they don't like them, because nothing good has come over from Haiti for them for like hundreds of years. And no, and they don't like them. And I don't, and to me, I don't think it's racism, because Dominicans are, you know that they got nappy hair. So
They're more aren't they more Latino?
They
than
are.
African?
Yeah. The Haitians identify more, of course, with their colonizers, the French, and the Dominicans don't. They're more with Spain. So,
Right.
there's that too. It's cultural. But Haiti has been a sewer from the get-go. Haiti has always been a sewer. Haiti has never had a golden age. And can you imagine? That's right next door to you. So I can see the clashes. We complain that we've got Mexico next door to us, but can you imagine having Haiti next door to you?
Do you think it's the Dominican Republic's job to save them?
I don't think they can be saved. I think it's the Dominican Republic's job to save themselves.
Look after your people first.
I know maybe that sounds like tunnel vision, but
That's what's happening in Chicago, right?
Hmm?
But that's what's happening.
That's what we do. We have tribalism here in Chicago, and we're not even it is what it is. We know what we're doing. It is tribalism. People look after their own first, except for the liberals.
64 kilometers of the almost
I
400
wanted to show this video because I wanted to show another country just saying no before I show the Christians and how fucking stupid they are.
that divide both countries. But in Haiti, people say it won't stop them from crossing over and over again.
We're here living on an island and they're trying to stop migrants from crossing. But you can't really stop this phenomenon. It's going to happen. Even if they deport people, this will continue to happen. There has to be...
No, that's not true, because if they start doing what Greece does, or what Poland does, which is they just shoot your ass, you ain't going to cross anymore. Or what Israel does. No, you won't. No, you fucking won't. They're being nice. And they understand that the Dominican Republic's being nice because they understand that they're being watched.
Oh yeah.
There's UN troops. There's humanitarian aid, not necessarily troops. There's no blue helmet. I haven't seen any blue helmets in Haiti, but the Dominican Republic's being nice right now. Don't take advantage of that.
Well, you know what? They're being nice officially, but the individual Dominicans are putting their foot in, like, Haitians behinds that they don't want in their country. They're battling that on the streets. And you know what? And it's not for me to judge, because I think to myself, I come from a city that's very tribal. We're gonna take care of our own first.
But you're being replaced.
Yeah, we are. You know what? They're not replacing me. They replacing these hoodlums around here because I'm out of here. You can have this shithole. I'm looking after
Be a
me and mine
changer in
first.
Haiti. This is what's needed.
Promoting stability in Haiti is a stated priority for countries in the region, but so far most attempts have failed. Human rights groups say the wall is a misguided use of resources that will further militarize the area and only push people to take greater risks to escape. Teresabo, Al Jazeera, the Havon, at the Haitian-Dominican border.
I mean, it's terrible on both sides because you look at the Haitians, you have people who just want to escape the madness, but where can they go? Because they're not welcome, because they're also bringing the madness with them.
So, this is a story from a couple years ago. These 17 Christian missionaries were kidnapped and held hostage for ransom.
Key news, 2 members of that Christian group kidnapped in Haiti have been freed. Late today, their church, the U.S.-based Christian Aid Ministries, made the announcement on their website, but did not give the names of those released. The missionaries, 16 Americans and 1 Canadian, including children plus their Haitian driver, were abducted by a notorious Haitian gang on October 16th. They were returning after visiting an orphanage. ABC's Janae Norman leads us off tonight.
Tonight, after being held captive for more than a month, 2 members of an American Christian organization have been freed in Haiti. The Ohio-based Christian Aid Ministry saying in a statement, the 2 hostages who were released are safe, in good spirits, and being cared for. We cannot provide or confirm the names of those released, the reasons for their release, where they're from, or their current location. 15 missionaries still awaiting release. In October, 17 members were kidnapped after they paid a visit to this orphanage outside Port-au-Prince. The violent 400 Mowozo gang accusing the kidnapping, demanding 17.
That's crazy.
What do you think about people living in Haiti wearing suits and chains?
You know what? I don't understand. Okay, that's a gangster. That's a gangster.
So where's the money come from? Is it extortion?
These are criminals. They got money. They're the only ones with money.
So are they running like a protection racket, or are they shaking down their own people?
All of the above. All of the above. These are criminals. And they are doing everything it takes to get some money, to line their pockets. Those are gangsters.
$1 million for their release, $1 million per person. Among the hostages, 5 children, including an 8-month-old baby. It's not clear tonight whether any of the children had been released. A spokesman for the Christian group recently asking for continued prayers.
These families are from communities in Wisconsin, Ohio, Michigan, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, Oregon, and Ontario, Canada. We thank him that he is God and ask him to hear our prayers and bring our families home.
Those prayers certainly continue. Janae Norman joins us now.
Can I say something else here that I fucking hate about the news?
Go ahead.
Remember all the vitriol that came out from all these fucking people on the news about the Baker 303 in Colorado, where now she doesn't have to bake cakes for gay couples?
Yeah.
That's a violation of her religious beliefs. And remember how all the articles were coming out and the president and Congress was saying that now they're going to start segregating and they're not going to serve black people and this and that and everything. And well, everybody now has a fucking problem that the Abrahamic religions don't value butt sex. Right? The Bible, the Torah, the Quran all have negative viewpoints on butt sex and on pedophilia. I'm not saying every gay person's a pedophile, but there's a lot of pedophiles that are gay. Let me put it that way. Not every black person is a shooter, but a lot of shooters are black. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. So you notice all these fucking companies now had a problem with religion and Christianity, especially. But do you notice that every time there's a shooting and every time there's a kidnapping and every time somebody's murdered, especially from the BIPOC community, they always talk about praying. We have to pray. We have to get a vigil. We need to come together and ask God for help. Well, you don't get it. You don't get it both fucking ways. You ask God for help, then you read the book, you read the words from the book you believe, and you deal with it. And it's like, it's just this picking and choosing of when they want to believe and when they don't want to believe, and when they want to enforce things and when they don't want to enforce things. And that's what I tell people. It's like, look, I'm trying to believe what I'm trying to believe. And if you don't, you don't. But, you know, I'm not trying to infringe on you. I'm not trying to. I hate this. These Christians are down there, but these are the same Christians who would turn around and say, well, I don't think my children have to be taught about white supremacy. I don't think my children have to be taught about LGBTQ rights. I don't want to teach them that shit. And these women and these people on the news would want them thrown in a camp.
Yeah, they would.
Yeah. They're not even saying, like, these are the fucking people that have a problem with parents' rights. But every time something goes bad, oh, let's ask God for help. Go fuck yourself.
These are the same people who are always saying that they're a work in progress, but they never progress.
These are people who find God or Prislam after they've killed somebody. After violence.
After, after when it's time to face some consequences. Oh, all of a sudden you're enlightened. You're like, oh.
That's what the fucking guy did who ran over the 70 white people at the parade. He was marching around the trial with a fucking Bible. Where was your Bible when you ran over and killed 6 people?
That was so completely insane.
I don't remember. Daryl Brooks.
That was so completely insane.
And then he had a Bible at his judgment.
It should have burst into flames as soon as he touched it.
Or he should have fell on his fucking knees and said, "I'm sorry." If you believe, you accept responsibility.
It's a prop. There's no legitimate beliefs going on there except somebody trying to make a show to try to save their ass.
Why are white people in Haiti in the first place?
You know what? I don't even know. Because I'm thinking to myself, hell no. And I'm black. Hell no. Why would you go to a complete, excuse my language, a complete shithole? What are you trying to prove with a proven history of just chaos and violence? Why would you go there?
Well, this was 2021. I just wanted to show you this.
Now, moments ago, Haitian officials also confirmed the release of 2 people in that
Also
missionary
notice
group.
it's not called a hate crime either. Right?
Well, you want some hate crimes? Look what's happening in South Africa when they're like singing like a stadium full of people. Kill the Boers.
Kill the boar. Yeah, the ANC. Yeah.
Have we learned anything else about their release or condition?
Well, the Christian Aid Ministry saying in that statement they're not releasing any information about those 2 people. And they're asking anyone who is privy to specifics of the release to safeguard those details.
So guess who got kidnapped like 2 weeks ago?
Who? Oh, Lord, more Christians?
Yeah, and her baby.
Say, why are you there? Why are you even putting yourself in that
her young
position?
daughter reportedly killed. Now to the urgent search for a New Hampshire woman and her young daughter reportedly kidnapped in Haiti. Stephanie Ramos has the latest.
She took her daughter. Do you see what I mean by like my people have some kind of fucking? I think the actual term is called pathological altruism. There was a book written. There's a book called Pathological Altruism that I have to read. I'm still reading White Flight, Black Flight, which I'm going to try to knock out this weekend. She took her fucking kid.
Good morning. The humanitarian aid organization the woman works for says she is a deeply compassionate and loving person who considers Haiti her home and the Haitian people her friends and family. The woman and her daughter were kidnapped as they worked near Port-au-Prince.
This morning, concern is growing for an American mother and her child kidnapped in Haiti while working for a Christian humanitarian aid organization. Elroy Haiti confirming Alex Dorsonville, a nurse from New Hampshire and the wife of the instructor, was abducted Thursday morning with their child while serving in their community ministry near the capital of Port-au-Prince. In this promotional video, Alex is seen discussing her work.
Kids from the school will get permission from their teachers and they send them over and come to the nurse's office, and then I check them out.
The State Department confirming the
So this is why she's there.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That is crazy. She does not have a shred of self-preservation for her or for her child. She marched directly into gunfire. That's crazy.
And she took her child with her.
She took her child. Not just her. I mean, she want to be crazy, okay, but she
And
took
her
her
husband let her go.
defenseless baby.
I wonder,
That's insanity to me.
is this her husband? Did they say
That's
this
what
is
I'm
her
looking
husband?
at. Is that her husband, or is that like, just
confirming
some
Alex Dorsonville,
colleague?
a nurse from New Hampshire and the wife of the organization's director, was abducted Thursday morning with their child while serving in their community minutes, telling ABC News, "We are in regular contact with Haitian authorities and will continue to work with them and our U.S. government interagency partners." Local officials estimate 80% of Port-au-Prince is controlled by rival gangs. Our Matt Rivers recently reporting from there.
This area is completely controlled by armed groups. It is one of the most dangerous places in all of Haiti. In fact, the only reason we're allowed into this area is because we've been granted permission.
The State Department now ordering families of U.S. government employees to evacuate and advising Americans not to travel there due to widespread kidnapping and crime.
An escalation of violence by Haiti's armed gangs is driving a humanitarian crisis that has displaced tens of thousands of people. The country of Kenya is now saying that they are going to take the lead, and they are ready to deploy at least 1,000 police officers to help train and assist Haitian police so they can restore normal.
Yeah, So they're going to send over a military and stop it.
And they need it.
Do you want to
And
see?
it needs to be a lot more than 1,000.
I don't fucking get this, man.
Okay, but you know what? The one report said that the police, broke up the whatever it was. Who's paying the police? Are these private police? Because there effectively is no government.
Right. But that's what I mean about fucking white Christians.
No common sense.
Because I told you I go to a Protestant church, and I can't talk to any of them because it's like, okay, I told you I met my wife's friends, so let me make my position very clear. My wife went to an all-white, what do blacks call it, a PWI, primary white institution, right? That's the black name for, there's less of us.
Yeah.
You even know
I've been there my whole life.
you even know the show, what's her name wrote, who everyone says is Oprah's girlfriend, When They See Us, about the Central Park 5 case.
Oh.
Even the name in itself, When They See Us. Right? So I told you when I went to her wedding, she went to an all-white school in the middle of nowhere, and she learned how to be a math major, and now she works for the private sector with math. And I'm one of her friends was working at like a rehab center, teaching ex-cons like how to fill out job duties and everything, and how to fill out resumes and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then she met this really, really, really based Greek guy, super based Greek guy, Greek Orthodox Church, families from Greece, no guilt, no shame. And he said, "Hey, why are you doing that? Aren't you afraid of being like, killed or stabbed or raped or anything?" And you know what the company told her? She
What?
tried to leave to a more like rural area. They said, "Oh
Mm-hmm.
no, you're so good. We want to send you to Philly, the most dangerous one in the state." And the husband was like, "Fuck no, you're not working there anymore."
Yeah. Who wants to be a widower?
And it's just like I have these people at my church, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go to the Congo, and I'm gonna go to Kenya, and we're gonna go to Afghanistan." And I'm like, "Yeah, and give me your keys, and I'll take your car when they send back your body." And
Somehow they think that their faith will put a shield around them and it will protect them from all evil. That people will see that they are there to do good, and they won't, and they won't traumatize them, because people will see that they're there to do good. No, they don't have a shred of common sense. They don't think that these people are going to look at them like, "Oh yeah, easy mark. Kidnap them, ask for $1 million, rape this one, do this to." They have no clue. They
you
are living in la la freaking land.
you would think after 17 of your people got kidnapped, you would go, "Okay, we're gonna make a deal with the local gangs, and we're gonna have armed security." That shit ain't happening again. That's what I would do.
You would think, but no, because they're still thinking, I've got the shield of God around me. I'm on the side of right. I'm on the side of righteousness. And somehow they think that these people will come to like this moral conclusion that these people are there to do good and they'll leave them alone. They're not understanding. They're dealing with people who are basically human coyotes. There's no, how do you do business with the devil?
At gunpoint.
At gunpoint. The devil who has no compunction against not causing you harm,
Right.
who will not hesitate.
Well, you were speaking of that segue. You were asking who runs Haiti. This is barbecue.
This is a country that is falling apart day by day. We wanted a move from one area of the capital, Port-au-Prince, to another, crossing two rival gang territories. Sky News contacts insisted we had a police escort. Machine guns ready, they cleared a way through. It is that bad. The officers were wary. 10 policemen were killed here in the last week. Haiti has been bad for years, but this is a new development. There is now no...
Look at that.
Look at that. Doesn't that look like the damn apocalypse? That looks like a jungle apocalypse. I can't imagine voluntarily stepping foot in that madness. You're not saving anybody because you're not going to be able to save yourself. This is not a Hollywood movie. This is beyond what they teach you in Sunday school. Something like this is on a whole different level. And if you involve yourself in this, you are involving yourself in madness. Look at that. Look at that picture. That's real life. Hell no. Hell no.
I mean, we could go deeper, but I figured this can be the last video, and then we can take a look at the debate if you want a little bit.
Well, I got to go pretty soon because I got to go get beautified.
Okay.
But
Do
you know
you
what?
want to go right? You want to go right to the debate, or you got to go?
Let's go to the debate.
All right. One sec. So that's what's happening in Haiti right now. The next week, I figure let's do the Simpkins. Let's cover the Timothy Simpkins trial. He got found guilty. He got found guilty. All right. You know Tommy Sotomayor?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know Fanatic?
No.
Fanatics are pro blackity black. And this was an interesting thing because Fanatic they kind of get along for like about 11, 12 minutes. And that's when then the debate starts. And that's when the disagreements start. So we'll go in a little bit and I'll see what you think.
Okay.
There was an interesting part where Tommy Sotomayor talked, and Fanatic was like, I ain't talking about those people. That's pretty funny. It's around here. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Don't like us too. And they got it in common. If you think about it, the dark.
It seems like, okay, yet again, this is unfair, and it seems like that would negatively impact Black people more so than these other groups. And what we're seeing is, for example, Middle Eastern people and Asian people, we're seeing like so much more progress aimed at them than us. When we look at things like hate crimes, and I'm trying to land it here because I'm going on a bit. You look at things like hate crimes. Hate crimes are specifically the large.
Did he say we're trying to focus more on Asians than African Americans?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't affirmative action just struck down because they were denying whites and Asians?
Yeah.
What didn't Harvard and the University of North Carolina just get proven to be favoring African Americans?
Yeah, they were saying, when you take everything into account, they're, African, well, but I think the big thing was they were also trying to do this maneuver. And this is, okay, this is what I'm going to say is coming from somebody who is Asian point of view. They said that, and this has been going for a little bit, they're trying to get Asians to identify more as white than as minorities. And so they were upset. Okay, I'm like all over the place, sorry. But they're upset that so many Asians were getting in because of their superior test scores.
But I thought tests were honest.
Their test scores getting into college, because a lot of Asians got some kick-ass test scores, better than everybody. Yeah. And some white people were upset about that. And they've always expanded the category of whiteness. Like, I remember when I was a kid, Italians and Jews were not considered white. They were like kind of white adjacent. And now there's been this push in the last few years to kind of bring Asians more over into a white category than a minority category. And they tell them, oh, you guys are the model minority and all the rest of that. And there was a big thing about them in college because a lot of Asians, like I said, have kick-ass test scores, and we're knocking some of these white people out. It's a big confused mess, but it's like a lot of them, they're trying to pull the Asians over more to over to the white side, against the Black people, because they're saying those Black people are trouble. They don't have the test scores. They don't have this. They don't deserve to do this. They're troublemakers, blah, blah, blah. And, and I can't disagree. I'm not disagreeing, but I'm just saying I've heard this from Asians when they try to, express what's going on. And they're like, yeah, they're trying to make it seem like we're more white and against Blacks. But, a lot of Black people are super freaking problematic and are against anybody who is not Black. A lot of Black people are very prejudiced.
I think Asians are just out for themselves.
Asians are out for, people don't understand how Asians actually are, how they are so prejudiced against, different Asian groups are super prejudiced against other different Asian groups.
Well, yeah, sure. When they built the ramen house in Philly, it was all Japanese, and Chinatown tried to get them shut down for like an entire year.
Yeah, you know what? There's a big thing going on. I mean, the Japanese and the Koreans hate one another because the Japanese will not admit to what they did to the Koreans during World War II. The Japanese don't even teach their kids about World War II.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on, and you know what? And just because I'm married into that family, I get to hear a lot of inside information. Like, ooh,
I'll keep going.
okay.
Just group of people who are attacked by hate crimes in this country are Black people. The largest constraining factor for which type of hate crime you're going to get is race, and the largest race that's receiving hate crimes is Black people. So it seems like that is something that is aimed at us, that is negatively impacting us. And so to me, it feels like that is the system has just been intentionally armed and aimed at us. The war on drugs was decidedly aimed at Black people. So many political things were aimed directly at Black people. So that's why I feel it's more egregious against us than other groups.
Okay. Just this idea that whites tend to like some people and not like us. Maybe they don't like us because if you just ever thought about it, I don't know who talks about it, but maybe they don't like us because almost everywhere we go in the world, people don't like us too. And they got it in common. If you think about it, the darker they are in almost every place in the world, they kind of look down on the darker people.
That is true. But I feel like a lot of that is controlled by the media. I think whiteness, I think that's part of white supremacy that has created this environment in which we have demonized any person who is darker than white people. And the darker you are, the further you are away from whiteness, then the more the demonized you're going to be. And they've had these sort of racial caste systems all around the world, as you pointed out, in India, where you have very dark-skinned Indian people who are treated significantly worse than their lighter-skinned counterparts. Obviously, you have the same thing in Hispanic cultures, where they have a phrase, I believe it's called mejorar la raza, which means improve the race by specifically having children with people who are lighter skinned than you are. So yes, yes, there is a specific anti-Blackness, and the darker your skin is, the more likely you are to be mistreated. I think they even did studies where they determined that Black people going through the court system are significantly more likely, if you have dark-skinned, to be seen as guilty for the same evidence as light-skinned counterparts, right? So then it's just like, so yes, this anti-Blackness is there. Colorism is also there. And I would say all of those things are created by white supremacy. And so rather than it just being something that's in common with these other groups, I would say it's something that's caused specifically by some of the US's particular bigotry or European bigotry that has really just been spread around the world.
All right, so let's get into it. What is it that you want to talk to me about? Because I've been having the conversations for a couple of days, well, probably about a week now. Reparations and systematic oppression. I know you're asking me right now about systematic oppression. I can agree with you that there is systematic oppression in the United States, but I guess I also try to just wonder, sometimes people just don't like you. They just don't like you. And when people don't like you, what do you do? How do you even that? Why does the world have to be even?
So here's what I would say. As a person, you cannot force other people to like you, and your success is ultimately your responsibility. So then that means
Remember that. No one has to like you. Your success is your responsibility.
if you're applying for a job and they're throwing out your resume because of the fact that you have a Black sounding name, then in those cases, you might either want to try to go by a different name while we work on trying to fix this system, or try to find a Black employer who's.
And pause. Let me show something. This just happened in North Carolina today. This 16-year-old Black girl was told at Chick-fil-A change her hair, but then she was told she could go back. It was a misunderstanding because it got put on the news. So, I mean, you think that See it here?
No, it was completely blank for a minute there.
Ah, sorry. Yeah, so this Chick-fil-A girl right here, she was sent home over an unnatural hair color. And then after the news, they told the manager and the supervisor said they made a mistake, and they just quashed it out. Because I guess they're afraid they don't want to get a lawsuit or anything. So
I mean, is that part of the dress code? You just can't have an unnatural hair color?
yeah, someone said it's probably because they don't want to have like blue hair, purple hair, rainbow hair. But
Yeah, I mean,
she signed a
sometimes it's just
contract.
part of the dress code.
Yeah, but she went on the news, and now they're saying,
Oh, they're
uh,
racist. They won't let me
yeah.
wear a pink wig.
So do you think it's true when Fanatic says, well, black sounding names, they don't hire me? I'm like, bro, they bend over backwards to hire you. What are you talking about?
You know, I've heard that, and I have a completely different name than I used to have. I changed my name in 1999.
To Whoopi
I didn't
Goldberg?
change. Okay, no, I didn't. You know, it's still equally ethnic. It's just different. And I've heard that if you have a certain sounding name, that you know they'll just trash your resume immediately. I've heard that, but you know what? I don't know if that's true, because I know people who have different ethnic names. Like, have you heard some Indian names? You're like, I can't even pronounce this.
Yeah, I've heard some.
You know, right. So you've heard their names. I've heard other different ethnic people's names, and they don't have a problem with it. I think the problem may be in your perceived possible job performance, because maybe you haven't had a good reputation.
Or just maybe you have no job experience.
Or you don't have the job experience. You don't have the same qualifications. I don't know. But like I said, where I am, I'm living in a multi-ethnic city. And we got a lot of different people with a lot of different types of names, and they seem to be getting along fine.
Can we keep going?
Yeah.
I want to get to the bank part. That's the funny part.
Okay.
Not going to be dissuaded by your name or make yourself so attractive they almost can't reject you. Now, that's a tall order, and I would imagine that the average person isn't going to meet that bar. But that's what I would advise for you to do. But I think simply acknowledging that these types of things have happened historically and are continuing to happen now is, I think, the first step towards us being able to acknowledge that something has to be done to offset the trajectory that has been caused by this intentional segregation and oppression, etc. So
who do we need to acknowledge it? Us as a people, or them as the outsiders?
The country. I think the government needs to acknowledge it, because if we're talking reparations, it's not about individuals. It's not about it's the government. The government creates the environment that permits that type of behavior. And so I would say, if we can get the government, people in Congress, on board with the idea that we have to create better legislation to offset this damage, then we would probably be we could make some progress. That's what happened during the civil rights movement. It didn't fix everything, but it definitely created progress. There's no way around that. And I think that we just need more progress.
Okay, and this progress comes from, you said, the government. The government needs to kind of set things right.
Absolutely. And
again,
again,
that would come in the form of land or finances or a mixture.
Oh man, definitely a mixture. I believe in like a full encompassing reparations plan.
This gets heated. They start yelling at each other, and sometime around like 1:16, he just kicks them off the show.
But first off, before we get directly into that,
I'll let you know.
I got you. But so to be sure, so you do agree that the economic conditions of Black people, would you say that is caused in part by some of the systemic oppression, like the economic conditions of Black people, in contrast to the economic conditions of white people?
Yeah, I would assume that, yeah, they have the ability to try to make somebody that looks more like them a little more comfortable in this country than someone who doesn't.
Man, Tommy,
and
listen.
once they've done that, you into a wall. Sometimes they're taking something from you. They're constantly being ahead of you.
Right. This is hard because I'm I'm excited because we agree about so much. I really expected pushback on every single one of these points, and that's why you can't judge a book by its cover. And I get some of your content is inflammatory, but up till now, I've expected us to disagree on everything so far. We're going to probably speed run through this.
More nuanced. My conversations are more nuanced than what people see when they see a title or when they get a clip. And that's why nobody typically wants to have a long form discussion with me, because in a long form, all these things are more nuanced. I think the problem with blacks try to make things just you're a coon or you're not. Everything seems to be you're a coon or you're not. You're for blacks or you're not. And it's this straight line down the middle. This razor sharp surgeon's edge down the middle, and one step the wrong way, one word the wrong way, you're on the outside. And I think, is my opinion, I think blacks are just as or more discriminatory than whites, because we're constantly looking for ways to throw other blacks out of the cool kids club. Think about it. We're constantly looking for ways to throw them out. We have not gotten any reparations yet, but what did they start? ADOS split, FBA. And that was all about, let's not give these people reparations if we get them. These people are bad. And now it's these people who are non-FBA are the ones who are doing all the rap music and making us look bad in front of people. I'm like, y'all hadn't even got the money yet. Y'all already arguing about how to split it.
Yeah, so listen.
Is that a fair point? Because that's Tariq and Cheed with the tethers, right?
I'm coming at it from a different point of view, because I first of all, I think that Black people will never receive reparations ever. I think it's a dead conversation. It's never going to happen. How can you? And I mean, really, logistically, how could we? So I think it's a dead conversation. So I just can't even get into it at all. When I hear them talk about reparations, I think to myself, I am so tired of Black people. Okay, this is gonna sound so bad, but I am so tired of Black people looking for a damn handout. I'm like, this shit happened to how many generations ago that you trying to get a check for? What have you done in the last couple of generations where the same forces at work have not been at work at you like that? We do not have the same overwhelming forces of racism coming at us like, say, my grandparents or great-grandparents. We have had so many opportunities in my generation, in your generation, and even younger.
Yeah, they just made the Crown Act.
Well, thank God we can wear our hair the way it grows out of our damn head. But you know what? We have had so many opportunities. Oh, and about that, the Crown Act, 25 years ago, I wanted to get my hair braided in a certain type of braids, and I had to go to HR to get permission.
You also told me that was the same company that gave you countless opportunity, right?
They gave me opportunities, and I was good with it. Okay, I was like, and I did. I went to them and I said, "Is this okay?" Because I'm not trying to mess up my money. So yeah. I mean, that's why when they start talking that kind of stuff, it just, to me, my mind automatically goes into the other side. Some more Dusties looking for a handout. Always a damn handout.
When the camera angle changes, that's when I want to get to the small hats. That's around 33. Just want you to see what he does. I just want your opinion.
Okay.
I'm 100% in agreement with you about a lot of those things regarding like the FBA call. Because it seems like a lot of them function in a way that is so antagonistic towards immigrant Black people, more so than it is antagonistic towards white supremacy. And that's something that I find obviously problematic. I think the greatest threat to African Americans, to Black people within this country, is obviously white supremacy. That has been the greatest threat, and I don't see Black immigrants surpassing that anytime. What I will say is there are great sentiments of anti-Black sentiments, anti-blackness within immigrants, black immigrants as well. So I understand that that's there, but that can't be the primary focus. I also recognize that as a lineage and as an ethnicity, blackness within the United States, within that context, is distinct from immigrant Black people. We recognize that immigrant Black people are outperforming ethnic Blacks from the United States by a lot. They have stronger stronger family units. They have significantly more likely college graduation, etc. So I would say, for all of these reasons, if we're talking about reparations and the harms and stigmatization that has been aimed at specifically the Black people who have been in this country, then it seems like money is one of the ways that people use to kind of overcome that. And if immigrants are more likely to have more money, then they're not subject to the same thing. Not that they're not encountering any anti-Blackness, but yeah, the fact of the matter is, go ahead.
Well,
do you think it's a little bit of an ego thing when he thinks racism against immigrants is called anti-Blackness?
You know, there are, okay, first of all, this country doesn't love immigrants. Okay. Well, they do. We like white immigrants from Europe, but we don't like immigrants from pretty much any place else. We don't. It's not anti-Blackness, it's xenophobia, but but we see like white immigrants from Europe as like, you know, less other. Because all the Russians and all the Eastern Europeans that came over here in the last 25 years since the wall fell, they're not doing bad. I don't see a lot of anti-immigration like rhetoric against them. But this country has never liked yellow, brown, or Black immigrants just because this country is xenophobic. And I work, like I said, I can't emphasize enough. I work for a company that is, it's owned by white people, but the immediate power structure around me is an African power structure. I work with a lot more Africans than I do anybody else. They're the management, and they're the teams that I work with. And I hear it all from them. And they have clashes with Black people. There's a lot of clashes between African immigrants and Black people in this country.
Why is that?
Well, because Black people in this country can also be xenophobic as hell. And
no, that's not possible. It's not what I learned.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
Impossible.
Oh, I know. Black people, everybody just love, we love everybody, you know. But anyway,
Best neighbors, the best music, the
right.
best problem-solving problems.
But a lot of immigrants come over here. A lot of Black immigrants from Africa, from Haiti, okay, from the Caribbean. They come over here and they see Black Americans through the eyes of the media. And the eyes of the media is, you know, it's kind of harsh. You know, what do you see in the eyes of the media when you look at Black people in the United States? You see hip hop, you see crime, you see all the, you know,
Housewives of Atlanta.
Right. You see all of the wretchedness. And these people are coming from countries that are a heck of a lot more conservative, who value family more. Now, I'm not building them up, because you know what? The dust is worldwide. Okay, Dusty's coming every flavor, including the original one.
I was about to say DZ's going to be lurking around the corner.
Oh, you know, and that's fine, because you know what? Original dust, Caribbean dust, Spanish dust, American dust, whatever. It's the dust is worldwide. But these people, they value themselves in a way that their family structures and everything, they look at what they've got going on as better than what they see for Black Americans. I have literally had an African woman tell me how raggedy American Black families are. And whenever I have conversations with them, and I'm talking, this is not damn near on a daily basis, they look at me like, you know, they're surprised I have values, because they look at so many Black Americans as, you know, as what you see, you know, twerking, baby daddy, hip hop, blah, blah, blah. That's what they see when they see a lot of Black Americans. And so they don't want to be associated with it. They want to do what they want to do. Their values are more traditionally in immigrant values, which is like, come here, keep your nose clean, go to college, and achieve. No, don't make excuses, because they don't care about excuses, because excuses didn't work in their country. I see the difference. I see the difference between Black Americans and like Black people who come here from other places. And there is a clash sometimes. Sometimes it's a very real clash. Because like I said, Black Americans can also be as xenophobic as anybody else. And ask somebody, ask an African, ask a Haitian, ask somebody from the Caribbean, how Black people talk to them, talk down to them.
I wanted to show you this. This was from Kenya.
No one is feeding the child? No more.
I'm sorry, I thought this was Kenya. This was Nigeria.
Okay.
So this Nigerian family in this Nigerian town, because you said traditional African cultures or customs. You ever heard the story?
Oh yeah, they accused the baby of being a witch.
Yeah.
And threw the baby out in the damn street to like make its way. And this woman, this white woman, like took pity on this poor child and saved its life. Yeah, because their traditional African ways, have a whole lot of superstition going on that would consider such a thing possible, that a baby could be a witch and you should just throw it out of the house.
What is wrong with the child? The child? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's a scene where the baby falls down, and then everybody goes, "Oh!" and they pick the baby back up. Yeah, there it is. So I'm just wondering, like,
that's their traditions. That's part of their traditions. They don't like to talk about it, but that's part of their traditions, including, what they do to albinos.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. And female genital mutilation and domestic violence on a degree we don't know anything about, and child marriage, and all the rest of that. Yeah, those are part of their traditions too. It's not just big family gatherings.
Yeah, I always tell people, you have to be careful when you say the word culture, because it's very nebulous. What does that? It doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? Like it can mean, it's just an empty word that you're supposed to praise.
Right.
Like there was a great debate with James Lindsay, actual justice warrior, and they were debating this what's this faggot's name? I don't remember his name, but there was this other fat dude with them, and they were like, "Oh, but there's nothing wrong with culture. There's no such thing as a bad culture." And the moderator said to him, "Well, what do you think about in the Middle East when they throw gays off of rooftops?" And he had to backpedal. I never seen somebody backpedal so fast.
Culture. I had a conversation with my son. I got a 19-year-old, and he's actually, he's my kiddo. And we were talking about slavery. And I was telling him that there are more slaves now than there have ever been in history. But we don't talk about it so much because we don't talk about sexual slavery. And when you talk about sexual slavery, one of the main things you don't talk about culturally are, you go to these countries and you have a girl or a woman who is forced to marry somebody she doesn't want to marry. She's got to marry him. And if she doesn't, she can be murdered by her family for honor. And she's got to have sex with him, have his children, keep his house, do all of these things. But because you consider them married, it's not considered slavery in those countries. But that's culture, right? That's their culture.
Here, let me go back to this. I know you don't got a lot of time.
Okay.
I just want to ask, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I was just wondering, don't you think that we concentrate too much on quote unquote white supremacy? And I could be wrong, but it just seems to me like when you said it's the greatest threat other than, and this white supremacy is causing us so much problems, but then it's very difficult for me to believe it because white supremacy is allowing us to be on every platform we're broadcasting to right now are owned by whites. And each of these platforms that we're broadcasting to has been able to create wealth amongst blacks that shouldn't have been allowed. And these, and I'll say it this way, because they are constantly talking about white people ain't shit, white supremacy is horrible, and all of these things. And in the process, they're enriching themselves on these white platforms while doing it. And if white supremacy was so oppressive, how was this new form of black jobs, because most blacks didn't, and a lot of blacks jumped on this bandwagon, especially during the COVID thing.
Like red pill in the manosphere, right?
Mm-hmm.
They jumped on it, and they've been allowed to say all the things that the oppressor should not want them to say and get paid doing it. These jobs didn't come from black.
I love his face. I love his face. Now this is where the disagreement starts.
These jobs came from blacks using white stuff to enrich themselves. Every one of them. When you say hit that Cash App, that's a white person. When you say go to Venmo, white. Follow me on Twitter, white. Follow me on Instagram, white. Broadcast on Kick, broadcast. All these things are white. Just curious, how is that? The oppression seems overblown.
Well, okay, so let's find. That's crazy. We're finding a serious disagreement here, which is okay.
I knew I would.
Okay, so
what are your thoughts on that?
Well, no, it's the same thing. It's the same thing that divestors say. Look, it's like people that go, oh, you're canceling me, while they're doing interviews on every television station there is, doing magazine covers, complaining, you're canceling me. Oh, white supremacy is oppressing me while I'm getting rich, complaining about white supremacy.
Oh, like that girl Nene. What's her name? She had the TV show for 15 years. And then she gave an interview the other day. It's like she's worth $15 million. She said she's supposed to be as famous as Kim Kardashian, right? I heard about that.
I don't know who that is.
First off, when we start talking about systemic oppression, first off, this stuff happens way before we talk about adulthood and trying to make success on these platforms, which are already particularly discriminatory. You'll find that people, black people, doing the same thing, even be of a higher quality, have a harder time meeting success than their white counterparts. I'll give you a quick example. I'm a musician, okay? I play music, I play the piano, and I have a gift with my ear. I can play pretty much any song I hear with literally an ear that's more accurate than any other person I've ever heard in my entire life's ear. Legit. Oh, actually, there's one kid I saw online, this little gifted genius 8-year-old, whose ear is literally, I think, the greatest in the world. Besides that kid, I've never in my life.
I'm gonna press X to doubt. I know rappers who can't read music, and I know professional athletes who can't read, like Floyd Mayweather and LeBron. Somebody made a great joke. LeBron, when LeBron read 4 word, he thought there was 4 words.
I've encountered a person who has an
I'll be here all week.
Mine. Yet, if a white person gets on there and does the same thing at a mediocre level, they're more likely to meet more success. You'll find people.
Let me tell you why I don't have a problem with that.
Go ahead.
There are more of them than us.
Well,
Bingo.
Yes. So you're describing why these systems.
200 million versus 40 million.
Thank you. We're talking just sheer numbers.
And Tommy Sotomayor has had his channels taken down a lot. I don't know how many times he's been kicked off YouTube or Instagram. Yeah, that's not. That's not me doing that. That's he's gonna get to that.
Systems still favor. I mean, why
These people who look like me.
these systems still
Well,
favor white people?
They're the one who created it.
Well,
That's what you're saying. They're the one who created it, right?
Well, if that's the case, then you would be able to make the argument that Eminem shouldn't be the greatest hip hop artist, right? He shouldn't have the highest sales or the results and records that he does, but he does. And that was music created by Black people, supported by Black people.
In that case, there shouldn't be a Black man like LeBron James who's made.
No. I'm not making that argument. I'm not saying let's go down that train. I'm saying that that's obviously ignorant because I don't think that you had the same. You didn't have that outrage. No, but you didn't have that outrage or you didn't have this perspective about Eminem. Unless you did, maybe correct me if I'm wrong. Do you feel that Eminem shouldn't?
I said Eminem got the numbers he got because the whites backed him.
Sure. Do you feel like he shouldn't have been allowed to do the music that he was doing?
Allowed to do the music?
Sure.
No, I don't think there's an idea of being allowed to do the music. We're in America. You should be able to do the music just like Cowboy Troy can do. He did country music.
That's right.
What do you think about that perspective of being allowed?
Allowed? That's crazy. What? Black people can't rock out? Is that what we're doing now?
Well, no, he wouldn't say that. He's a pro-black. He would say what he would say is blacks are allowed to do everything, but whites have to ask permission. He's pro-black.
Eminem is.
I don't like rap.
Okay. Eminem is like so popular because number one, he's freaking talented and roast everybody. And he does appeal to he does appeal to a lot of white people, and there are a lot more white people than are Black people, and a lot more white people willing to put their money where their mouth is. So of course, there he goes. He even talked about it himself in his raps. But allowed? I thought we were in the United States. I thought we had the First Amendment. I thought anybody could do anything. If I want to do K-pop, well, no, but whatever.
If you want to do K-pop, I guess.
Okay, but you know what I mean. You can do what you want to do. Are you a success at it? Can you reach an audience?
You can even do drill rap and confess to homicide you've committed.
Oh, you know what? Jay-Z and them are trying to go to the Supreme Court to not allow that, huh?
Yeah,
you can't use that as evidence. You can't use your own words as evidence against
Fannie Willis is in Fulton, Georgia, though. Fulton County, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
So you're on Sotomayor's side of this is America, and if I want to play music, I can play music.
Yeah.
Regardless.
I am in favor of free speech, which is one of the big problems I have with the Democratic Party right now, trying to censor everybody.
Yeah, Brandenburg v. Ohio. Right?
Yeah. So
that was the Klan speech, but there were no little hats around, so it wasn't really a call to violence because they were just in a room yelling at each other.
You know what? What does it say? You can say what you want to say, as long as you don't incite people to violence. I think that's what they say. You can say
I'll pull that up sometime. I know I don't want to.
But
I know this is where it gets spicy.
I guess you know what? I'm more on this guy's side because I am pro First Amendment. I'm pro Second Amendment. Okay.
So you're more on his side. What do you think about what he said of you should be allowed?
Allowed is bullshit. This is the United States. You do what the hell you want to do, and if you succeed, you succeed, and if you don't, you don't.
It's the verbiage.
We're gonna legislate taste. We're gonna make people. Oh, I'm sorry. Because you're white, I don't care how talented you are at this thing. You can't do it. Okay, well then, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Is that what we're gonna do with Black people too? Sorry, you suck at this. No, sorry, you may be excellent at this, but you're the wrong color, so you're not allowed to do it.
But we covered the funeral last week of Young Cheese, that their music was always about putting the guns down, remember? Like father, like son.
The hypocrisy, it's coming back to the fact that there are a group of people who just want to be able to run wild and do what the hell they want to do regardless.
So he's going to bring up the housing crisis. I'll ruin it. I'm always going to try to have a debate or something because you said you always like the drama. So I'm always going to try to have something. And I know we'd be in trouble by DZ standards for listening to Dusty's, but I find Sotomayor interesting because he gets kicked off of everything, and then I found out why.
Okay, so then black people should be able to be on Twitch or any of these other platforms and do the same things that they're doing.
No, I didn't say that they shouldn't be able to do the same thing. I said you said their numbers are bigger, and I said, but of course they should be. They have a larger group of people.
Okay, so then if we agree, then these are open platforms because the country has obviously came to its senses and said that we can't just discriminate and racially intentionally just like segregate these platforms and say black people can't be a part of them. That doesn't mean that that's an end to white supremacy. That doesn't fix the fact that the house that my grandmother bought was freaking redlined. That doesn't change the inheritance that my mother got 3.5 years ago. That didn't change the loans that when my mother.
The Dominican Republic is redlining Haiti right now.
Refinanced her home, her and my father, when they refinanced the loan on their house, it doesn't change the fact that they were still being like undercut there, or that we're seeing that these things consistently happening.
But it does change what I was talking about, which was simpler. I said today, I think that this idea of white supremacy is overblown.
So this is where to say a phrase like overblown is a relative term, and I don't know overblown to what. Like to what degree are we going to compare it? Overblown? Okay, wait, hold on. Overblown.
Now, do you see how the mannerism's changing? You see how he's getting more excited, speaking more words per minute, hand gestures. He's moving around more, and Tommy's just like. I watch a fair amount of Sotomayor because he's funny. I don't watch everything he does because some of the shit he does is just pointless bullshit. But when he has these arguments with people, they're fun because he's good at just drawing an analogy and just creating a parallel. You know, because he's good at that. He's good at like simplifying it and drawing a parallel with an analogy. And I'm trying to learn that from him. He's pretty good at that.
Blown according to the psychopaths on Twitter who are saying that white supremacy is everything, or are we going to say it's overblown by the Republican Party who are literally making arguments like Tucker Carlson that white supremacy doesn't exist? It can be overblown, but I can't speak for everyone else. What I can say is that white supremacy is still effective, it's still impactful, and we're seeing the results of it in several studies across the country today. That's what I would say. Now, the degree of overblownness, I don't even know how to contend with that because I don't know. I haven't really given it a value statement for us to be able to contend that.
Well, I was trying to answer that, and you did say that we were talking earlier. We were talking about how this is supposed to be the most important thing.
See how annoyed he looks now? You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going. Oh, shoot. I'm sorry.
And now a story that.
Oh, shoot. Hang on. I didn't know they had all the ads. I think that was a good count. I think it was a decent counter example. Like, hey, man, there's all these cash apps and PayPal and Venmo, and I get paid.
You're getting all this money from Zaddy
videos.
And you know,
so I'm particularly familiar.
Supremacy, because I don't think white supremacy is impactful to the point where, just like you said, that's minuscule. I think white supremacy is just as minuscule as that. I think both of them are overblown and made up. And that's why I use the example of all the things that we're allowed to do, because my thought behind white supremacy would be that they're not going to allow us to sit up here and constantly talk about it, put them down, and get paid doing it. I don't think they do that.
That sounds like a straw man there, because no one's saying that white supremacy is all powerful and that there aren't things that have prevented them from segregating certain things that we're doing. For example, like, yes, we are able to be on these platforms because they're not allowed to racially discriminate. That doesn't invalidate all of
not to. There wasn't blacks who made this.
No,
I'm saying they're not allowed.
No. They're legally not able to discriminate and prevent black people from using
That was
Twitch.tv
something that
or
they
YouTube.
legally them though. They did it. So that means they allowed it.
It's
If
not
my-
just
if I'm
them.
living in
It
my
was there was
mom's
an
house,
entire political process with God knows how many different
Of them.
riots that happened in the country.
Of still
Riots were
them.
happening, huh? No, riots were
Of still
happening.
them.
You're saying white people were rioting more so than black people
Hold
in
on.
the civil rights
When
movement?
they rioted. Who wrote the law? Who voted the law?
There were black people that were still in Congress at the time
Who
when they
wrote
wrote those
the
laws.
law and who voted the law?
Both blacks and whites in conjunction is what I'm answering. I'm
There was
answering your
no
question. I'm
blacks
sorry.
There were
Wait,
not
I'm sorry.
enough
Let me make sure. So I'm sorry. Let me make sure that we're crystal clear here because you keep interrupting. Let me make sure that we're crystal clear here. You're saying before 1964, when the first Civil Rights Act passed, you're saying there were no black people in Congress during that time? Is that what you're saying? Because Congress. Let me make sure. Let me make sure I'm asking it. Congress passed.
What do you think? What do you think of his demeanor now?
Oh, he's ticked off because he doesn't want to admit what is clearly, obviously the truth. Yes. Who actually, black people may have, like,
There were 4.
okay.
There were 4 black congressmen.
Okay. So there were 4 black compared to how many non-black, how many white people who actually wrote these laws and passed these laws?
200 and
So
I'll look that up.
So look, so are we talking about white supremacy here? Because this doesn't seem very white supremacist. Okay, it seems like you've got a lot of people saying, okay, we're not going to discriminate against you. Let's see what you got.
A little more?
Yeah.
All right. I'll look that up while that's playing.
Passes the laws, and there were black people in Congress at the time of the passing of the Civil Rights Act. So it was black people and white people in conjunction working together to get this progress.
Y'all do know that earlier in this conversation, he straight said, oh, I don't speak in absolutes. He said it. He said it's not an intelligent argument to speak in absolutes. So then he turns around and what does he throw to me? An absolute.
What absolute did I throw at you?
He just said, so you're saying there are no blacks? That's
well,
what
you must.
said.
I'm sorry. In order to disagree with me, when I make the statement that blacks and whites in conjunction did this thing,
You said
for you to
that
say,
after I made my
I said that multiple times, and you disagreed with it. I'm sorry. Then you know what? Then that's my fault. I'm sorry. I misunderstood.
If whites voted amongst racial lines, it would not get passed.
Okay,
Period.
so I'm sorry. Then I must have misunderstood, or maybe you misspoke. Whichever of the two. Then let's just make sure that we're crystal clear here. So then I got you.
If
I never said we did. I got you. Hey, let's.
So that's all I said. It took them.
Let's not.
If whites voted amongst racial lines, as a matter of fact, what you're saying is apparently the blacks that were there, however many they were, they voted for their own interest. Did they not?
Let's not get caught up on miscommunication. Instead, let's just go ahead. Let's update the conversation. So to be sure, the original thing that was being stated was, which I stated, and it seemed like you disagreed with, but maybe that was miscommunication. So to be crystal clear here, it was black people and white people in conjunction passing the laws that prevented the further discrimination. Correct?
No. Here's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. Do you disagree or not?
I heard what you said. See what just happened? I listened to everything you said.
Okay.
You wrong. I said no, and I'd like to elaborate.
Okay, go ahead.
Because if I got to listen to you, surely you want to listen to why
I'm listening.
No.
Go ahead.
Right. I said no because of simply this. We needed them. They didn't need us. If they had just said they wanted to vote upon racial lines like we did, because unless you're telling me there was out of the 3 blacks, one of them said, let's keep them down. So the blacks voted amongst racial lines. If the whites had done the same thing, Bill dead quick. So it took some white people to go against their own best interest if white supremacy helps whites.
So once again, that has nothing to do with the question that I asked, because to be crystal clear, but I'm not going to ask it. I'm not going to ask you again. I'm just going to go ahead and state it, and then we'll move past it. What I said was the fact that there were also Black people, Black legislators that were also involved with the passing of the Civil Rights Act, right? And so it wasn't simply white people that passed the legislation that made it illegal for them to discriminate. That was something, again, people worked in conjunction. And so, yes, this was something that we did together. This wasn't something that only white people did. And with that being said, given that those laws have been on the books for over half a freaking century at this point, the idea that now, because of the fact that Black people are able to make money on YouTube, somehow invalidates the existence of white supremacy is absurd. Obviously, again, there are different areas where white supremacy flourishes and where it chooses to focus, and others where it will not at certain times. It doesn't mean that it's still not in play. So the idea that Black mortgages, for example, as recent as 2009, when we had all of these intentional subprime loans that were given to Black people, despite credit score, despite what was the other one? It was despite income and credit score, Black people were pushed into subprime loans, and so that the housing crisis directly impacted Black people significantly worse than its white counterparts. That was white supremacy. That wiped out Black wealth. So these things do still impact us. These things have existed for quite some time.
All right.
A system that allowed Blacks to get homes when without that system they wouldn't have been allowed to get it is now white supremacist. So that would be like a system that allowed Blacks to get into Princeton and Harvard when they wouldn't have been able to get in it. And then they failed out because they really weren't qualified to do it. Like a lot of what affirmative action has done, has given Blacks opportunities that they technically weren't qualified to get.
Okay.
That when they fail, I want to make sure, when they fail, that in itself is white supremacy. That these Blacks could have said, I cannot afford this. No matter how much you're offering, I know I can't, I'm not going to take it. Or they could have paid it. It's white supremacy because they gave them an opportunity to get something that without the subprime loans, they would have never been able to get it.
So let me explain to you why you're wrong.
So you made a noise.
Because he is 100% on the money. I you know what? I gotta listen to this guy a little bit more. And sometimes I'm shocked. I agree with the people that I agree with. I'm like, oh, what's happened to me?
Dusty.
Okay, you know, yeah, he is a Dusty because then at the end of the day, that's who he is. But yes, if we're talking about white supremacy, okay, so there were 4 representatives in Congress that were there to help pass all of this legislation, but everybody else that passed it was white.
I found the 88th Congress.
Uh-huh.
That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a picture. I just keep getting Wikipedia. Yeah,
Okay,
so there were 4.
But you know what? Nowadays, I swear to God, everything is white supremacy. Everything. If the sun doesn't if it's not sunny, it's white supremacy.
Climate change is white supremacy.
It's white. Oh my God! I have heard the arguments all through Europe and back. Everything is white supremacy. You know, and when you blame everything on this one thing, it becomes meaningless.
Right. Well, I want you to see this one part when he did. They're going to talk about. Well, you'll see.
Wrong here again. I'm going to give you a simple analogy. Say we gave people loans say we allowed people to come into a classroom and we said, hey, we're going to let you into this classroom. But once we let the Black people into the classroom, once they got there, we raised the curriculum standard so high that it was impossible for them to continue. It was impossible for them to pass. And then we look at their failure and say, so you must not have been qualified for the class at all. While meanwhile, we're giving a different class to white people where there is no change in standard. The reason why this analogy holds up so.
What do you think about that? The curriculum didn't change at college.
The curriculum did not change. The people who got in, who were qualified to get in, who flunked out, should have flunked out, regardless of color, culture, whatever. Either you're good enough or you're not. And if somebody is bending over backwards to let you in and you still don't measure up, well, whose fault is that? I'm sorry, but I don't want a doctor working on me, helping me, who's there because of, we've got to have representation. No, I want the best. I don't want the guy that you passed along because he's the right color, because you want to have representation. Okay, because in the end, that shorts everybody. That harms everybody. Either you're good enough or you're not. That's my philosophy. And I don't care what color you are.
We're almost there. He's gonna talk about the banks again, and then Tommy Sotomayor he's gonna shut down. That's pretty funny.
So well is because with these subprime loans, what they had was variable interest rates, meaning we go through the rubrics necessary to determine whether you qualify for this loan or not.
So the colleges changed it when the blacks got there, and now the banks are changing it for the blacks that got there.
After we've gone through that rubric, now once you're in bed with this loan, we raise the interest rate up, sometimes increasing your mortgage by, I don't know, 60%, 50%.
He's saying that, right? He's saying that when the blacks...
That actually happened. What they would do, and I know somebody personally that went through this, they would get somebody whose credit was garbage. And they would say, okay, we're going to give you this mortgage at this subprime loan.
Right.
And you have X amount of time to get your credit together and refinance at a decent level, or else your loan is going to go up to the amount it should be with the risk that we're taking, giving it to you to begin with.
Yeah, it was an adjustable rate mortgage.
Right. And so what happened was the people who had garbage credit to begin with didn't clean up their act, couldn't refinance, and lost their homes.
Yeah, they were ninja loans, no income, no job.
So, yeah. Okay, so these people, they took a chance and they lost.
My wife did a study. My wife wrote a paper on this in college because my wife's a CPA.
70%. So now you can no longer afford your mortgage. They did this specifically with these subprime loans because they had variable interest rates. Meanwhile, white people with lower credit scores and lower income were not given those subprime loans. They intentionally steered specifically black borrowers into them. They then settled with the government to the tunes of billions of dollars, none of the vast majority of which did not go back to the consumers. So then now black people are desperate to hold on to these homes, hoping the interest rate goes back down so that they're back able to get the mortgage rates that they're supposed to. And instead, they're now investing their life savings, etc. They are eventually foreclosed on, meaning all wealth put into that property is now completely wiped out. That's what happened to black people. So then to simply say, well, we gave you the home, but when we gave you the home with factors such as variable interest rates, which are guaranteed to make you lose that home, then that's not truly giving me the opportunity. You gave me the opportunity to fail. You didn't give me the opportunity to build wealth, because if the interest rate stayed the same and I was able to continue to make my payments until the house became completely mine, then all of that mortgage and all of that property value and the growth thereof would be completely wealth. But they did the exact opposite because they knew by raising those interest rates that they would not be able to afford those things, which is why they settled to the tunes of billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. So it's not just, it is white supremacists to intentionally target black people with these specific loans, which we have the evidence for.
You intentionally targeted a group of people who were begging you for an opportunity to be able to get a house. And if you use the standard across the board that everybody had to use, they would have never been able to get a house.
Oh, you misheard me. Remember I told you that they did the study and they found that black people with higher incomes and higher credit scores than their white counterparts were still given subprime loans. So if we're only controlling.
So do you believe? So he's saying that when blacks go to college, they change the curriculum, and when blacks go to banks, they change the rate mortgage.
Well, since I have bought a home, since I come from people who own homes, And I've seen the good and the bad, and I saw what happened when they had the whole failure. You know, I saw people that I know lose their homes. Not just Black people. I've seen white people do the same, lose their homes. I mean, we got a whole thing in Illinois with whole abandoned neighborhoods.
You're talking about the 2008
Yeah.
housing crisis
So,
that Obama bailed out.
I'm in the middle of that. I'm right there in the middle of it. You know, all I can say is this: if somebody gives you an opportunity to have something that you don't deserve in the first place, and you still don't live up to your contract, whose fault is that?
Well, he's about to say who it is. If you
Oh, okay.
Trolling for the for the Black people who have more income and credit score, the two largest factors on which are determining the factors of your loan. If we're controlling for only those groups and still giving them subprime loans, that becomes predatory. It's no longer the same rubric. That's my point.
And my point would be then on top of that would be simple. When you're talking about banking, you're talking about Steens and Bergs and Steins and all of these and Goldmans and all of that. So you can put it on white supremacy, or you could put it on the people who are setting the rates for these loans. You could put it on them. You could talk about them, but it seems like we won't talk about them, because if you want to say what they were doing, those people, they're not the white Caucasians that you talk about, or none of you talk about. That white supremacy seem to be a bit of Jewish supremacy. I'm pretty sure those are the ones who are said that those are the Fed.
They're gonna shut him down for that.
I guarantee you that's who that is.
Listen,
I guarantee you your banking, that's who that is.
You're trying to get me deplatformed. I'm just going to say for the record, though.
And then the next point, I know I got to go soon. The next point he goes into is, he goes, look, if this is all true, where's the class action lawsuit? Where are all the thousands of people who got together and got screwed over by the banks, so they're not suing them now? Because lawyers will do that.
Of course, if they think they have a case, yeah.
He's like, this wasn't 200 years ago. This was 2008.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, if that really happened, he goes, the bank screwed over pretty much everybody that they gave these loans to. He goes, it wasn't just you. And he's saying, if it was just you and it was thousands and thousands of people, you could get a lawsuit and you could sue them. But I think it's funny that in this instance, he goes, well, you know, it's this other group of people who own all the banks. And this guy goes, well, I don't have any smoke for them.
Better not have any smoke for them. Look what happened to Nick Cannon.
And Mark Lamont Hill. That's the guy I was talking about last week.
Mm-hmm.
I had to look him up.
You know, it's funny. We're talking about, like, you know, what happened with the homes and the banks in 2008. I actually bought my first house in 2009. So, and when I bought my house through this one mortgage company. It's a legitimate mortgage company, and then they sold my loan, of course, to a big major bank. Did I have any problems with my credit? My credit was decent. Did they try to steer me crazy? No. How was my interest rate? Like it was supposed to be. Okay. I had decent credit. Nobody was steering me, and I'm black. And so I think that the people who had crappy ass credit got in over their head because somehow they thought that they could, like, turn around all of their spending habits and increase their credit to refinance, and it wasn't going to happen because they didn't. Right now, the home that I own, I've been renting out for years, and I told the people who are renting it, when you get your credit together, I will sell this to you at the same cost that I bought it.
Oh, wow.
Okay, they've been in my house now for 13 years.
Oh, Jesus.
And they can't do it. They're nice people. They pay on time. They keep everything up beautifully. Whenever I have to go in and make changes or whatever, they're very cooperative. But like I told them, I offered to sell them the house. And when I bought the house, I bought it as a short sale. So I got a great deal on it. They haven't been able to get their credit together in all of these years.
Why?
Because they have shitty spending habits. They don't know how to save money. This is just how they are. Now, I'm going to tell you, last year, I had a dip in my credit that shocked me, and I didn't know why. I had a big dip. I had an 80-point dip in my credit.
Wow.
Yeah, because I was using my credit. You know, they give you all of this credit, but when you use it, your credit score goes down. So I said, okay, got that. So, of course, I paid off everything, right? And then everything I could, I put on automatic payment. My credit is higher after not even a full year. It was higher than it was because I do what I'm supposed to do with my credit. I pay my bills on time. This is not a race thing. This is a responsibility thing. Either you're responsible or you're not. And the people who are renting my house are white.
Yeah. They don't, but I think that's on purpose. I think that schools, they don't teach you that anymore. And I blame everybody for that. I blame the school that pushes the kid through and graduates them. I blame Bush for the No Child Left Behind Act. But I also blame parents, and I blame kids. You know you can't read. I also blame the college that admits you. That would be like me hiring somebody. I know they have no skills, and I just leave them alone, and then I get surprised when they can't do the job. It would be different if they let a kid in and they said, "Okay, well, we're going to tutor them. We're gonna bridge the gap." That would be completely different. Look, you ain't gonna have a life. You're gonna be Asian. Now you're Asian, and you're just gonna do homework 6 hours a day, 8 hours on the weekends, and you're gonna bridge the gap.
Because that's what you have to do. Look, I was in the same situation. When I went to college, I was not fully prepared. And I had a professor tell me when I turned in this paper, you know, he was very encouraging, but he also told me, you are lacking some major skills and you need to go to the writing lab. And I had to take my ass over to the writing lab, and I had to do some basic work that somehow passed me by. I had to learn some basics in college so I could come up to par. Because either you're good enough or you're not.
I'm ashamed to say this. I don't want to give it away. I was a STEM major, and I'm embarrassed. In my pre-gen eds, I had to take anatomy, physiology 2, and microbiology. In those 2 classes alone, I must have created like 3,000 index cards. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't even my major. That was to get into the STEM field I was going into, which you can probably tell was science. So it's like, I had never created so many index cards in my life. I had boxes for every chapter. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, trust and believe. I know, because I remember having to go and play catch up, learn basics, figure out learning techniques. I mean, you name it, I had to do it because this is where I want to operate.
I got accused. I almost got thrown out of school. I was accused of cheating in my second A&P class. We had to take all these. So we were learning about the kidney, and we were learning about hormones. And a lot of the classes, when you learn about the hormones, is you have to write flow charts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, it goes to the brain, then it goes through this one, then it goes to the heart, then it goes to the lungs, then it goes here and there, and all that stuff. I must have handwritten my notes. I literally was able to close my eyes, and I could handwrite my notes. I had 100 pages of notes on the kidney, and that was just from the teacher. Right? But when I took the test, I would literally just turn the test over, and I would write out tables or graphs or flow charts, because I had written them out so many times. I could close my eyes and just handwrite my notes. So when she saw me doing that, she thought I had like I sneaked my notes somewhere. So she told me to come in and take the test over again. And she saw me doing it again and she thought I had my notes on me somewhere. And I was like, no, she goes, why did you learn it this way? I said, because I had to. Like, you gave me so much. She was one of those people that like super smart, never really had to study, and she just didn't understand other people. She's like, she didn't understand. Why do you learn this way? I was like, this is how I learn. I'm kinesthetic, tactile. My hand, I have to do it with my hands or I can't do it. I'm not audio visual. You know what I mean? And she didn't get that. So she said she would say, write this page, write this table. And I would go on the board and I just wrote it out. She's like, I've never seen that before. I was like, yeah, well, I want to pass this course.
Right. So hello, I'm motivated.
Yeah. I don't have time to twerk in the hallway. I'm trying to get this B. So because I'm not smart enough to get an A, like like the Asian kids.
Well, you know what? I got it because I'm married to an Asian who has a PhD in mathematics.
Jesus, that's what I mean.
And you know what? And it's true. It's like certain things he just absorbs. And he has a family of he has three freaking actuaries in his family.
Jesus.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
I'm gonna my retarded self. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't say that word. I'm gonna sit myself down over here. I know my speed.
Yeah, my wife could do that. My wife, when I was doing pre-calc and calc, she could just look at it and she could go, "Oh, it's this." I was like, "How do you do that?" She's like, "Oh, I did it in high school." I was like, "I never took calc 2, and I don't know what." Well, in any case, I'm gonna step out. I got to go to my exit interview, but
Okay.
Let me know if you have some time next week. We'll pick. Do you want to keep watching this one?
I'll let you know. Yeah, I'll do. Let's continue on with this because this is good. This is very, very good.
Oh yeah, you'll see this guy flip out. All right, you have a good weekend, and I'll talk to you.
All right, rock that interview.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it.